Hey, sup, y'all? Welcome to the TO Desk. I'm Daryl Bunell, aka DJCream. Today we have a special episode of TO Desk because this is the first of hopefully many episodes dedicated to talking about the production and tournament history of a single fighting game franchise. With the release of Under Night Invert 2, Celeste on the horizon, I've invited some friends to talk about their experience with Uni throughout the years. Today's topic is Under Night Invert. Specifically, we're talking about the game's inception, from Unib all the way to Sisylas. Joining me today is Juushichi and Suika. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hello. You guys might be familiar with me. My name is Juushichi. TO, and I mean, I have a lot of hats, but from the Midwest, I play Akatsuki, specifically from Columbus, Ohio. It's a pleasure to come on and be able to speak with you today.
Hi, I'm Suika. As people might know me more so as the owner of the Uni Discord. I'm actually I haven't been around for commentary as of recently. A lot of online tournaments I missed the boat on by being a little too lazy myself. But on the up and up, trying to get back into it for Uni too. And I've been a long time commentator as well as Vancouver, British Columbia's representative Batista player for quite some time now. And it's thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you guys came on board because I know a lot of you guys are pretty well known within the Uni community. I've seen you guys' face and work throughout the years. So yeah, I'm really glad to have you guys on board.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
All right.
Yes, same.
All right, cool. So we're gonna start off with let's start off with some Unib. Really quick. You guys were you guys around for when Unib was like a thing? Just like as YouTube videos popped up, or just any of the hype came out for it.
Actually, for me, no. During the time Unib would have been around, I was more of a StarCraft 2 League player.
Hell
Really
yeah.
like diving around other games. I didn't even have like fighting games on the radar at that time.
How
For
about you,
me,
Jushishi?
I think I did get to see the first trailer of it actually. Uh, if I recall correctly, it was somewhere around 2011 or so. But I was learning to play Street Fighter 4 at that time. I don't
Mm,
remember what version it was, but I had been bouncing around a couple different anime games. I'd played some with some friends at college. You know, I went to Ohio University for a couple years, and then when I came home to Columbus, there was Seasons Beatings as well. So I got to see a smattering of games. I was mostly, I think, playing Smash and Street Fighter 4 though at the time.
all right, so let me take you guys back to what it was around like this time period. So, let's see here. This time period was the winter months of 2011. During this time, in the gaming landscape, is comfortably about 5 6 years into the seventh generation of consoles. So we're talking PS3, 360, Wii. Even a more promising handheld is about to come out. We call that the PlayStation Vita. LOL. So so let's talk about the games that came out around this, like just cool games that came out this time. We had Dark Souls debuting, single-handedly changing how video game critics emphasize difficulty in games. Uncharted 3 came out, pretty much how cinema is told within gaming. Skyrim also came out around this time, so a lot of my friends were enjoying the open world, like high fantasy exploration of this game. And now we've seen it in way more consoles than I could ever think about. And then some
Oh yeah.
other, yeah, and then some other games that came out were like Arkham City, 3D Mario 3D World, and at the turn of the new year, we had Katawa Shoujo. One of the games
Mm.
I,
Ooh, the
Oh yeah.
heartstrings.
yeah,
Heartstrings getting tugged there.
for real. The fact that Katawa Shoujo came around this time tells you how kind of old we're like we're reaching back.
Oh, it's pretty far back. This is 1 year after my graduation from high school.
Oh boy. I was still I think I was in college sophomore year, junior year, something like that. Oof.
I was well in college this time. So, also around this time, this was before Climax of the Night, before CEO Otaku, and even before Capcom and Tekken World Tours were taking up like this block after Evo. There was literally no high profile like fighting game events popping off until around like December, January, with maybe the exceptions like maybe Seasons Beatings and NEC. But that's not to say that fighting games weren't popping off around this period. let's see here. In November, we had Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, King of Fighters 13, and even Tekken Hybrid, which is an HD port of Tekken Tag Tournament, and it even included a Tekken Tag 2 demo. In January, we had in 12 we had Soul Calibur 5. February of the same year, we had BB Kingdom Shift Extend, which added Relay as Clover, which is Carl's dad, and then infamously in March we had Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
You guys remember that that show that they did for
Cross
Cross
Assault.
Tekken?
Cross
Assault?
Yeah, I do
That
remember
was
that.
I wasn't part of the fighting game community per se, but I definitely was a stream monster during those eras, and Cross Assault was something else.
Yeah, it
That was
certainly
like
was.
that was like watching early '90s Real World,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
in fighting game form, and I was like, this is a throwback.
It's funny.
Yeah.
That's where I learned a lot of like some of the more like community facing like influencers and top players
Mm-hmm.
at that time, and I'm like, oh, look at these people. These guys are kind of cool.
Yeah. I think that was Mike Ross wasn't in that, right? I think
I
it
don't
was
think
like
so. It was like
I think
Eris,
Eris,
Eris and Baye
Via.
Baye
Yeah,
was
were the team
there.
captains.
I think Ricky was playing in that too, because I remember she had like a Chun team for Street Fighter X Tekken. She had like a really cheap Chun team, didn't she? Like this was like early enough where timeout was like really prevalent.
That was super prevalent.
Yeah.
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 This game's early days were they were pretty powerful.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that post major patch, like that game's actually like very like fun to play. And I believe them. I just didn't
I
stick around
played
for that long.
a little bit of that patch, but I still was like learning how to play fighting games at the time.
All right, yeah. So, were there any other like video games around this time? Like Suika, you mentioned League. I was on the beta for League at like way long ago. I think by 2011, it's like what season 1, season 2 by this point.
Yeah, I remember I played Street Fight not Street Fighter, StarCraft 2. My friends were like, "Oh, StarCraft 2 sucks. Go over to League." It was during the League beta. I think it was they just like announced Caitlyn. And
Hey,
I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'll give this Caitlyn character a try." By this point, I still played lock screen.
oh,
And I played lock screen in StarCraft 2 also. So like I'm like, oh yeah, this lock screen stuff. I can't really like micro and do all this. This is really weird. Left League and then came back when Ari was announced because I'm a massive simp for Ari.
Yeah, I actually have never played League in my life.
Good,
Uh
good, good.
good.
yeah, there's a running joke in one of the groups that I frequented at the time, because like I could kind of see how it caused my friends to talk to each other and things like that. So I started making a joke about yeah, my League download is almost done. And it never finished because I never actually started it. But
Uh,
it's like, it's basically at, 17% or blah blah blah. It's like it was at 98%, but my computer forced to restart, so I gotta go back and do it again. That
yeah,
kind of
that
thing.
yeah, it's pretty much the Alex trailer from Street Fighter 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it sounds like from the earlier conversation that I got to be the old man in the room and be like, all right. So as the old melty blood player here, like I've definitely was like super hyped up for this. So I did a lot of research into the production of Unib because it's been a hot minute and I'm not sure it's been out there in like an English stream, like an English speaking like how like Unib was like kind of announced. So here we go. Let's move on to where Undernight came into play. So imagine this. It's February 6th, 2011. Eco Software, who's done like production on a lot of like fighting games around GP World Winter Festival, a Melty Blood Rambat tournament held at Club Sega Akihabara. Old Melty Heads will recognize the grand finals of this. This is Hare Satsuki versus Abuto Miyako, with Hare winning the trophy, which was a golden Hydra GP joystick. All right. At the conclusion of this tournament, Naruto Nobuya, the founder of Frenchbit, took the stage for the debut of their latest project, Under Night in Birth. This was a 100-second trailer, showed off HD sprites of 4 characters: Hyde, Linnae, Carmine, and Waldstein. The last moments of the trailers featured the character's select screen with room for 6 more characters for a total of 10 characters at launch. And a lot of concept art for those characters were also shown. In retrospect, you didn't get this kind of production details in any video game trailers, honestly. Yet the mainstream takeaway for this trailer was the line "Unreal Black" things. Like, I looked through a lot of forums, and that's like the one thing I saw everywhere.
Unreal Black things.
Yeah.
It lasts till today. We still reference things as Unreal Black things to this day.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So like the crazy part is when I was doing research, like I most of this info is from a 4Gamer article. And one of the quotes that they had was Narita saying that this will be a title that will last 10 years. A bold prediction at the time that has proven correct and with interest.
Yeah, it's currently 2024. I'd say he's pretty on the money.
Yeah. So, where'd you guys like so we kind of dabbled on this. So like what was your first impressions of like Uni?
You want to
You
take this first here, Suika?
Sure. So I didn't know anything about UNIB.
Mhm.
My first interaction under and learning about Uniel was back before I was really truly integrated as a fighting game player. I bought a stick because my cousin was a Street Fighter 4 player, and he influenced me to get a stick. I'd never used it. I used this stick to play, like, quote unquote, play like Arcana Heart and Aqua Plus.
Aquapaza.
Yeah, Aquapaza. I didn't play those games, but I mashed, and I was a masher. And the guy who was running those games at this university, games club, um, of this university I didn't go to. That's another story for another time. But at this games club, he's like, "Oh, did you see this new game that French Bread making?" I'm like, "Who? French Bread? What is a French Bread? What does French Bread have to do with making games?" And he showed me the trailer for Uniel,
Mhm.
and I'm like, "Wow, this game is aesthetic. This is
Yeah.
kind of cool." Like, sure, I'll give this game a try. How do I get it? Oh, you gotta order it from Japan and do blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, that's too much work. And then I found out Play Asia existed. Uh,
Uh-oh.
when I first saw it, I'm like, these characters are kind of cool. No one's like I had experience in Blaze Blue and Marvel, at least visually, and like hitting buttons in those games. And like all these characters stood out, and they all had their own identities. And then in the Undernight, it's just dudes on the street swinging swords or being really big, you know.
That's kind of
Like,
like the French bread like aesthetic is like their backgrounds is definitely like very urban
yeah, it's
environment.
homies on the street. Lene is just this little girl in a sweater beating someone up with a sword twice her size. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I'll try and figure out how to get this game. Found out Play Asia existed. I had a Play Asia debacle. Another story for another time. But ended up getting a JP copy of Uniel, and it's where we're at today. So that's my first time I've seen Uni.
So for me, the first time that I saw Uni, so we have a local here in Columbus in the basement of a Donato's on Ohio State's campus. My contemporaries, you may or may not have heard of a player named Tiggy FG.
Mhm.
Um, Tiggy and my friend Sarah, we had played a bunch of different anime games before. They both also taught me a lot about how to play Melty Blood. I had played Melty, I think like back on a laptop while I was in college, like years ago. So I was familiar with French Bread, and like the impression I always had was like the game was like faster and more fun and simpler. Like you only had 3 buttons and like the shield button and stuff, compared to something like Blaze Blue or Guilty Gear, which was like really really overwhelming for me at the time. uh so I was already like more skewed to that. Well, one Donato's weekday, they were like, French Bread is coming out with a different game. I was like, no shit, really? Like, you know I think Melty Current Code wasn't quite on the PC yet. So
It
I
was
think that
not.
was what, 2013, right? Something like
Yeah.
that.
Something like that.
But Um, so I looked up the characters and I was like, oh shit! Like I saw it at a much later state. Like Yuzu was announced as a character by the time that
Mm.
I saw it. So I saw Yuzu and Line, and I was like, holy shit! Because I used to be like a ninja pixie character player. I wasn't very good at it, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna main these two. I'm gonna co-main Line and Yuzu. Because I thought it looked sick. I was like, okay, this same company that made Melty Blood, I really liked Melty Blood. Uh, it's like a new game. Like I'm excited. So that was like my first impression. I was like this, demonic swordswoman with a sword swing that reaches half the screen. She's teleporting. She's flipping. Like, oh, this is gonna be fucking sick. So I was like super super excited.
Yeah, so once again, as the old melty head, like I remember like everybody getting hella hype for this because like it was kind of announced on on the French Bread's blog that they have a new announcement, and a lot of at this moment in time, people were like, "Yo," especially on the old melty forums, like a lot of people were expecting like HD melty at, as the new announcement because this was a melty tournament they're about to do the formal announcement, right? And then when they showed off that trailer, everyone's like, "Yo, this is actually like super nice looking." Like they were actually kind of blown away with like how the sprites look because we had to deal with like what's essentially Morgan sprites for the last 10 years. And
They're still
then
sick though. I love those.
oh yeah, yeah, they have their charm. I mean, I still like Morgan. Like
At this point,
that sprite
it's
works.
just a running joke. At this point, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of. At this point, yeah. So So yeah, a lot of the uni community was like, some of them were bummed out it wasn't HD melty, but a lot of people were like really like cool with taking the step forward, especially with a new IP and like all these characters look super cool. Like I remember people were like flipping out when like Merkava got like actually revealed and they were like, "Yo, this is the Unreal Black thing that everybody was waiting for."
Yeah.
Yeah, Merkava definitely was the Unreal Black thing.
If anyone ever asks why we keep saying Unreal Black thing and we just start posting like Blaze Kava emote.
Yeah, just give that whole logo a whole read because there's like a subtitle and then like a whole novel like underneath it. It's pretty sick. And yeah, one of the sentences is in all caps Unreal Black things. So yeah, at this point, like in the script I had written out, I actually wrote out a bunch of paragraphs for all these individual patches, and I was like, nah, this is way too much. So I'm just gonna like go over some like small little points I saw throughout. So it was announced formally February 2011. It took about 16 months for the game to come out in arcade. During this beta time, there was a lot of like Loki tests. A lot of people were saying, "Yo, that HUD stayed the same throughout the entire like Loki test until actual release when we have the new modern HUD that we see today." During the Loki test, there was no voice acting, and people were like complaining about the arcade hardware at the time because yes, system was outdated, and this was during the time when Nesca was doing so a more streamlined like system of how to get more games on a single cabinet rather than buying a whole ass board to put in one machine, and then you got to swap boards if you want to change games. Also, during this time in the beta, which was crazy, actually they kept this for a lot of the new unib cycle is that you could move around prior to round start, kind of like a melty blood.
Yeah, I remember seeing that actually. There's a YouTube channel that I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's just a compilation of old unit footage. And some of the shit that you would see, like people round start moving at you, Gordo, a sim restanding for some god awful reason.
All right.
Like it was insane.
Yes, I have a brief patch notes history, but yeah, a lot of things like restand combos that stayed for a whole year.
Oh my
Like
god, really?
yeah, yeah, they didn't fix that until Unil. So yeah, a bunch of notes that I found while perusing like the old YouTube footage was like one, everybody figured out Yuzu's elbow was like the god.
It still
Uh,
is really good. It's very active.
yeah. The Linfinite was found a month in.
Oh no way. That's pretty
Yeah,
quick.
it was super quick. People were
Shouts,
like, yeah, that plus like the restands, like combos were long back then.
yeah, shouts to Jakongre.
Time upper. Yep.
Time upper, baby.
That's why. That's crazy.
When you learn like why some of these people pick their names or why some of these people are the way they are, and you're like, it's Unib's fault.
Chikongire.
Jikongre.
I do remember one time like when this game like actually got released, I was over at I believe like either I was probably at NEC chilling with some of the old like melty heads, and we're talking like Shinobi and all these other cats, right? Like we were chilling in the room and we were like we were watching like unit match footage as they came out uh, on YouTube, and then we were just like having a ball, like laughing at like, yo, Gordo gets like all these sweeps in one combo, and like Yuzu doing all kinds of like rising JC because that used to hit overhead. Rising normals
Yep.
didn't hit.
So
So
like
she,
Aurier's JA hit
yeah,
overhead, which is really messed up.
That's messed up, dude.
yeah.
Oh, that
So,
means high JAU too.
mhm.
Oh, it's 2 hits. It's so free to confirm.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. So yeah, we were just having a ball, like drinking and then putting. It was funny. It was a good time just 'cause, like, this game looks so like Kuso at the time. But yeah, the cool thing is like when you're developing a game for over 10 years, look at Melty. It was Kuso when it came out. By the time of that 10 years, it's a very refined game. So it's really funny looking back at what used to be and then looking at it now, I was like, yo, this is actually a huge improvement over what was.
Yeah, I mean we can't talk about Unit without mentioning the goat. Two chain shifts.
Two
Oh
change
yeah,
shifts.
2 chains. So what's really funny, like we never really got a chance to play Univ. Well, up to a certain point, we didn't ever have a chance to
Wink,
play
wink.
Univ. Wink,
Hmm.
wink. But for those who might, you know, be interested in Kuso history, word on the street is if you go to archive.org, you can find I think the last version of Uni 2 on Ringwide. Uh, I actually got to play it at CE Otaku 2022, the last CE Otaku that I was able to go to. That game felt really weird. It's like Uni but not Uni. I was playing some Aurier with a couple other players who were there. This was before Akatsuki obviously got added in to the game. We actually got Clearlamp to play it again.
Oh, really?
I think it was like him and who else was there? Not Heiho. There was like another old. No, it was Heiho. Him and Heiho actually like played each other. I think it's on Tabby's Twitter, but I think she has a picture of like Lamp playing it. So yeah, if you're interested in playing that game, and it is not a good game,
Yeah, I
feel
I
free to pop over to archive.org. It's saved up on there.
I had considered uh putting that game on my PC just to see what it would have been like, because there are some whack things. Like I think Batista never had a gem limit, so
Yeah,
she
I
never had
don't I don't think she
Satellis.
had one.
So, but her gems always like popped up
Hmm.
in a particular way, and then like 6xb had insane untech frames,
Oh yeah.
so you could loop 6xb 18 million times. I think like every character had that. Like old Bolt Strike like combo videos were actually just like unit videos, just not on unit, you know?
That was like back when he played Aurier, right?
Yeah, that was back when you played Aurier.
Yeah.
Good times.
Nah, I'm pretty sure that gyms were still air unblockable.
Yeah, they're
Gym
still Iron
Explosion
Blockable.
were still air unblockable in Unib, so
They carried that over to EL. What an era.
what an era.
Well,
Phew.
speaking of EL, like yeah, EL came out like several years later. So for those who are like been listening properly, like the reason why we haven't talked about America aside from this last anecdote, like we haven't really talked about Unib in America because it never came out here. Instead, we got a console version of uh, Under Night in Birth EX Late. So the cool thing, it was like it was announced on a issue of Weekly Famitsu magazine. We're gonna get we're gonna get Uniel instead of like Unib as console port. Bad news is that the Japanese release date was literally a week after EVO 2014, so we couldn't bring it to EVO, and the international competition will have to wait until later. So, oh, and this is also foreshadowing because we see this more often than we really should. So yeah, how did you guys approach Uno when it came out? Did you immediately import the Japanese copy? As a TO, I had to go download the. I'm pretty sure everyone does this nowadays. It's like as a TO, you had to download the Japanese copy, and then that's what you had for like locals and all that stuff going forward.
So for me, I was still very much like a poor college student. I didn't even have a console at the time. I had a pad that I basically had to borrow from a friend because, I was playing Melty on this old Xbox 360 controller, and
Ooh.
considering that Uni was on PlayStation, I actually couldn't play it unless I
Mm.
borrowed someone's pad. So that was like how I initially approached Uni, but I eventually saved up my money. Uh, I saved up my money around the time that Uni actually came out in English. So the English release came out on I think PSN or something like that. No, actually I have the disc. So it came out on disc. That was like when I actually got to buy Uni and like start doing training mode on my own. Because otherwise I could only play it when people brought it around. So I want to say like I really started like trying to improve and learning Unio maybe like 6 or 7 months after it released in America.
Yeah, it came out about 8 months after the JP release.
Yeah, for me, just like I said earlier, I had learned about EL's release through a friend at a university. When I figured out that I could buy it through Play Asia, um, I was working while in college at the time, so I had enough disposable income. Working in college, by the way, not a great mix. It was terrible, but I managed to grab me. I think it was uh like a C version of the game because everything was in English. It was great. Or I think French bed games are just in English, which is great. Shout outs to
I
them.
believe they were actually.
Yeah, they're just in English. So like the game came over. I at this time I had dabbled with the idea of like getting into fighting games. I had bought a stick in like 2013. I hadn't used it for like 4 years because I thought fighting games were trash and went back to League of Legends. So if anyone ever like makes fun of the guy who says I can't learn fighting games, I used to be that guy.
I was that guy too.
Yeah, it's just everyone. There are a lot of people who were that guy that ended up being more after they looked at it the third or second or third time.
Dude,
But
it's that one meme on Steam where it's like, I can't recommend this fighting game. 200 hours playtime.
yeah, so those are so good. But I
Yeah.
bought it, and I sat down and I didn't know if I liked it or not until I had brought it to my own my own college gaming club that I had helped start with some friends. And it was like it was through them and mashing with them and having a blast with like friends that really like sealed my fate into this game called Uniel. But yeah, having the disc was great. Hauling all the equipment though, I don't think I could live that
Oh,
TL life, dude.
it was worse. I mean, like I know Juushichi knows like the plight of like the Smash TOs and stuff like that. Because
My
even
back, the CRTs.
yeah, because like even as like like a PS2, I grew up on like the PS2 tournament scene, so we also had to lug CRTs for early Melty and Guilty Gear at the time.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
why
I
every
was.
single time I buy a car, it's usually like some sort of like van or a crossover because I need that
Get a
speed for the
hatchback,
CRT.
baby.
Yeah.
Hatchback's so good.
Yeah, I was pretty deep in my TO era for Smash. I started kind of making the transition like closer to more fighting games maybe around this time with Uni. Uh, like I we talked a little bit off mic about this, but like I had wanted a fighting game that I felt like I could play for 10 years. And so, as I bounced around a couple other games, I was still playing Smash. I became a Project M developer, I think somewhere around this time, maybe a year before this. Actually, no, no, no. 2015, I think, was when. No, 2015, PM got shot down. Yeah, around this time where it came out in arcade, I joined the PMDT. But I was still lugging around TVs, and then when we were done with Smash tournaments, I would set up my PS3, and I would try to teach people, how to play Uni while I was there too. So yeah, it was quite a
You're the
time.
reason there's so much mix between Smash and Uni. There's actually a
So,
lot.
surprisingly,
There's so
like
much mix.
there's even Smash players who like really enjoyed like Melty. Like I think I've like talked about this elsewhere, but for some reason, like Smash and the Melty heads, we have this kind of weird cross mixture because for some reason the majority of our players are like poor college people with laptops. And
I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit of that, and I might be speaking blasphemy to some of the people listening here, but like between Melty and Smash, especially like Brawl and Melee to some extent, like Melee is essentially a Smash game. Like you have to use your air movement, like you have very difficult to get out of situations.
Mhm.
People are corner trapping, there's cheap Okizeme depending on the game that you're playing. Like Melee has reaction tech chasing and all that stuff now. Like a lot of similar concepts uh happen between Melee and Smash. Honestly, like anime fighting games in general and Smash, I think have so much more in common than maybe fighting game players realize. It's a cultural shift maybe compared to 10 years ago where it's like a little more acceptable to like be a Smash player who plays other fighting games, but no, that I think that has more to do with why, you know, people come over to play Uni from that scene. Like, there's a lot of similarities if you break it down.
You were saying Melee is a Smash game, but you mean Melee is or
it's an
Melty is a
anime
Smash
game.
game?
No, no, no. I mean, like, the way that people like jump out of disadvantage, the way that people like mash
Oh
and
yeah,
wake
okay,
up.
yeah.
No, like they're the same types of players that you play in anime games are the same types of players that you play in Smash games. The
Yeah, I
ones
can see
that
that.
know how to do one or two things and they'll crutch really hard on that, or like they have one setup and if you can't beat that, like you can't beat them. It's the same stuff. Like very very similar kinds of players I think play both games. So it's not surprising to me as someone who's been around for a while to see Melty and like Smash players playing the same games at this point.
I would have to hard agree with that. As somebody who actually was part staff on Alles Brawl, if all you old heads know, like
Oh yeah, I know.
yeah, I've seen so many
LG Anders
people
ladder.
the fucking ladder system, yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely saw a lot of like OG melty heads. Like I mean, the most famous one's probably like LK.
Yep.
Yeah, he came from Smash backgrounds.
And
Favorite FD
honestly, like
content creator, LK.
Leffen, I think was playing Under Night for a little bit when ST came out. I
Yeah,
think maybe it
Hmm.
fell off of it a little bit more, kind of because of the lack of rollback and things like
yeah.
that.
Lack
But
lack of rollback. Yuzu 4-1. There's a few reasons.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like a lot of our high level players have Smash backgrounds. Like Isaac, who many people are familiar with, played a lot of Smash and PM.
Yeah,
Red Blade,
you mentioned Isaac. You got to mention TTK. Those two are pretty much brothers
yep,
in
TTK.
terms of the
Well,
gameplay.
I feel like where TTK kind of shied away from the tournament scene, players who might be watching this podcast maybe aren't as familiar.
You're right. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, 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 yeah.
Red Blade absolutely was a Smash player. Like you could ask him. Uh he's probably one of the best players that we've had. There's like a lot of crossover. Sometimes people are surprised when I tell them that I used to be a Smash player too, but no, we have a lot of former Smash players. Squish also
Mhm.
played Smash. Like
Apology Man famously got like top 8 at NCR Smash one year. That was funny.
Apology Man was really good. You know,
I'm learning
I
so many new things.
Ebonic Plague also a Smash player. Like
Oh
you
yeah, yeah.
know,
I knew that. I knew that.
like there are a
I had
lot.
I remember once about to play as Meta Knight in Brawl. That was whack.
Oh yeah. It's like you see more crossover and you see more names that you can recognize, especially if you're active in the Brawl days. Like there's many more people that I haven't shouted out, but like
They know who they are. They know who
they
they
know who
Mhm.
they are for sure.
All right, so yeah, like Unil, I didn't even say anything about this game, but like, yeah, Unil came out on consoles. It introduced two new characters, Nanase and then your boy Akatsuki. And yeah, it just brought a new audience to this game. So yeah, is there any funny stories from this era in terms of like tournaments you guys want to talk about? I know during the Unil era, NorCal, like NorCal was kind of like doing a lot of things. I think we kind of broke this game pretty
Yeah,
early.
you guys were the cream of the crop at that time, I think for sure. Suika, do you want to go first on this one? Because I have a little bit of a long story. It's like my origin
I
story.
have yeah, I can talk. I'll talk about my first tournament ever because my first tournament is what got me into my Vancouver scene actually.
Mm,
Because I had started a gaming club with friends and we were pretty casual about EL, but I wanted a little more out of it, so I started net playing on Wi-Fi, mind you. I thought it
ooh,
was fine. I thought it was fine. I would
yeah,
like
close to
look.
the router.
I was close to the router. I would look for communities to talk and join with. That was when I joined the oh shoot, it was the NorCal Akatsuki player. Um
0 hour.
0 hour. Yeah, I joined 0 hour's Skype group, because we didn't have a Discord. We had Skype
Yeah, Skype groups
groups,
were the wave back then.
and in that group there was like 60 people talking uni, because the no one was on the forums anymore. And like I learned that through them that there was a tournament being run at PAX Prime that year. I think it was like PAX Prime 2015 or something. And I went down. I met up with the people there. I went hella O2. I showed them that I showed them I had like gem combos and stuff. I didn't have Oki, but I had gem combos, great. And the guy I played, the guy who was watching me, I asked him, "Hey, like, do you have any tips? You were watching me play." He's like, "No, yeah, you just need to like play the game more. It looked like you had gems and stuff." So I talk with them. I'm like, "Where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from Vancouver." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Vancouver too. We're in Vancouver, blah blah blah." We're talking it up. And I'm like, "Oh, what's your name?" "Clem. My name is Clem."
Oh wow.
Oh, let's go,
Clem
Clem.
was Clem was running a UNIL tournament at PAX Prime.
Mhm.
And I
As
was
a
just,
short aside, I found out through Corey's Twitter that like he's an OG in the rhythm game scene too. Like
Yes.
yeah,
he's that guy. Like, I always knew about him from other anime games. Like he was really strong in BlazBlue and everything too. And obviously in Unio he was one of the top players. But like
at
I didn't know he was like that guy, that guy.
at this point, you could just consider Clem like one of the OG arcade goers, especially since Vancouver didn't really have like round ones or big arcades like that. We had a great arcade. The name is leaving me right now because it's in a city that I don't live in, 30-minute drive away, blah blah blah. But he had been around since the start of VSB. He had been playing rhythm games between arcades in Vancouver for all this time. Like he's been around. If you go to a tournament and there's a round one there, he probably finished his pools match and drove to the round one to go play DDR or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
He's that
OG
guy.
the OG arcade thing is like, if there's only one cabinet of like whatever fighting game you want and there's a line for it, chances are you're gonna have to like wait. So sometimes I would just like, put my coin up for CVS2 and that game is long. So
Mhm.
I would just go play like either Marvel 2 or like put a coin up for Marvel 2 or put a coin up for DDR or put a coin up for Initial D while waiting for my turn.
To all the young people who don't know what putting a coin up is, you throw your coin onto the setup, and that's your reservation. That's not if you were sitting down in a cabin, and someone did that to you, like modern day, they'd be so confused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they wouldn't know what you were talking about.
But back then it was just like, yeah, I'd like can I get next on this setup? Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you put the coin down. It's just your reservation, bro.
Dude, the funny ones were Initial D because like everybody had their like cards with what cars they're running and on like top of the
Yeah.
console. You're like, oh dude, this fool got an Impreza, yo.
But yeah, that's when I first met Clem. That's when I first entered the Vancouver scene because like immediately after, I started showing up to all the weekly Wednesdays down in Burnaby, which is a smaller Burnaby is another city in the Lower Mainland here in Vancouver, but like that's where VSB was at. It was just this small, tiny like little place. It was cozy, it was warm. It's where I met Slam or Shao, if you remember them as Shao, or Not Sam as his modern day name goes, or I don't play this game.
Yeah.
And Subrosian, who has long since stopped playing fighting games. I think they're just more focused on their schooling, but like one of my first real teachers in this Batista world. But that was my first tournament, and I think the funniest tournament story is like immediately after Northwest Majors. Uh, I see Klim fighting GC Yoshi in a casual set. And Klim turns around to me and says, "You want to see why the Merc Byakuya matchup is 9-1?" And he starts. This is EL Byakuya. The character's not complete yet, right?
Nah.
He starts low fly JBing, and
Oh,
GC Yoshi's just like, "What do I do?"
yeah. This is back when like 3C was really bad too. Like,
Yeah. And you know what the craziest part is? Like, skip forward maybe a few years into ST Combo Breaker, Clear Lamps visiting the Combo Breaker for the first time. And I see Klim fighting Clear Lamp. And I'm like, how you like this matchup? He's like, oh, it's the same, as he starts low fly
yeah,
JB
he was
Clear Lamp,
lo-fiing the shit out of Clear Lamp.
and he
Oh
beats
man,
him 3-0. And I'm like, what the
yeah.
fuck?
I was there. You and I were sitting there and watching that.
That was so, yeah, it was so
That was
mind
amazing.
blowing. And that's when I really cemented to me that like this Christian fellow has been around, is so his skill is just so like old and legacy, but it just works. He just makes it work.
This is during
Nah,
the time of like Clem's like Reign of Terror, where he almost like triple crowned like a whole like year of
Yep, with
uni,
that
right?
with that phone on Merc combo.
Yeah.
yep. I was I have an interview series currently as well going on, uh called the Uni Interview Series. You can
Great
check it out on
series,
my
by the way.
channel if you would like. Uh I think it was Pesto and I that were talking. Like, no, like Klim is like one of your favorite players. Like legit. Klim is legit, especially when he's locked in. Like he's one of the most enjoyable players to watch because it doesn't even seem like he does anything in particular, but you just can't beat it. You're just getting
Yeah,
mauled.
he's
It's great.
like he's like we meme about it as like he's either the most classical player because none of his like routing or like his tactics like ever evolve, but they just get better despite it being the same.
Yeah, it's the same, but
Or
it's like more refined.
yeah,
He
or
like
he's just
slightly adjusts it.
or he's Canada's best masher because he hits a button and it works, and you're just like, what do you mean?
You know?
He just like hits 2A at a point where he's -3, and then you're like, that worked. That really worked. He's so good.
Mhm.
Dude, Jimmy J Tran, famous Melty Blood player, is like, yo, mash at disadvantage. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fuck it.
top
Sun
8
Tzu was
placer
right,
in
dude.
Lumina. Mhm.
Sun Tzu was right, bro.
Yeah.
To pull it back a little bit, for me in my earliest tournament, had to be some local at Donato's. For a while, like you got the new game bump, the quote unquote Arxis buff, where you play for 2 weeks and then like a new anime game came out or something like that. That was probably like the earliest like local. I had never been to a major before until I traveled, I think for 2015 or 2014 C Otaku. Uh, that messed my whole life up
Oh,
because I played Lolly Maiko in the lobby.
Uh-oh.
So anyone that's ever been to See Otaku, there's the area where you check in, like after you kind of walk around the resort, and it's like on the way to the actual venue. So
Mhm.
there's like a kind of sit down area in the lobby. It's like a wood table. Everybody brought laptops, PS3s, and monitors, and everything. And it was kind of like the coin concept for the arcade, but you basically like say, I got next. People will just sit down and play anybody. It didn't matter who. Uh, at one point late in the night, I sat down to play Lolly Maiko, and Lolly Maiko was beating the dog mess out of me. he like did something that really blew my mind. I was like playing on defense. He, did some pressure string, ran up, pressed 5A, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw him. And he teched my throw back and took his turn again. And I was just like, it was something so small. I was like, you're plus now. You
Yes.
stole my tech to become plus.
He
Oh
also
my
he also
god.
took grid. That's
Yeah,
important
and
too.
it took the grid. It's like he goaded me into trying to throw on defense so he could take his turn with better resources. And like that messed my entire world up. Like from that day, I was like, this is one of the sickest games I've like ever played. And like again, this is me maybe taking like 2 games from him, I think, in the entirety of that weekend. So like we played 50, 60 plus games. I took 2 games and it was like the happiest I had ever been. Because again, like Suika knows, EL Aka versus Batista was really bad.
Yeah.
It was very, very bad. Like Akatsuki is maybe considered a weaker end character right now, but he was obviously one of the worst characters in the
Dude,
game at
EL
that point.
like in ST tiers stopped mattering
As much.
as much because characters
Yeah.
were getting closer and closer to the center.
Yep.
EL was still in that era where you could look at an S tier character and you could look at an A tier character and be like,
There's a
there are
gap.
there are definable gaps.
Yeah.
And like we probably could really like measure characters down to the C tier even in EL because characters were either
Yeah.
just not complete or
C or
just
D.
yeah, it was pretty. It was there was like Aka just didn't have tools in EL.
Yeah. And
Nanase was
even
also faulty as well.
Yep.
Nanase was really bad. Chaos was barely a character. Seth was barely a character.
Seth,
Like
it's funny. Actually, I think
Seth had no health. Period. That's a
Seth
problem.
Seth is funny in that I think he was a character, but because he was so unstable. Because like
because his health, yeah.
fastball kick really stabilized his routing. Everything was manually routed in EL. Like if
Yeah,
you
manually timed. You
yeah,
had to be very precise.
so if you played on a different setup with a monitor, and back then monitors weren't as reliable, sticks
Mhm.
weren't as reliable. I
Yeah.
was playing on the TE2 that had like an additional like 2 frames of input delay on it, or some
Yeah.
shit, right? Like anything could go wrong, and Seth, where everything was manually timed, was so inconsistent. And
Yeah,
then
you
when you
dropped and
did
you
fuck
died.
up, yeah, you did fuck up. You had AK health, baby.
Yeah.
Adios.
Adios. Yep. And like health or attack values and like damage output was so inconsistent. You
Yeah,
had some things that were like giga like chunked your health, and then you had some things that were like you get a max out of like 2.1
yeah,
damage or something
2.1.
like that.
Not even good. Okay, you had okay.
Yeah,
You
like
had okay.
Oki very much depended on like what character you were playing. Like
Like
I just remember Akatsuki's 2C being bugged, where like you literally cannot like break 3K by using that move. Like if you hit somebody with that move, it scaled your stuff so bad that even like a B&B was doing less than like a 2A starter. Like it was
like
quite a funny thing. But yeah,
that.
basically like Otaku was what really got me to start playing the game seriously and trying to become a community member. So I always shout out and give my flowers to Lolly Michael, because if we didn't play, if he wasn't as patient with me, if he wasn't as willing to play as much as he did with me, I wouldn't be here today.
I think that was a tournament where where Mike yelled so loud you could hear it in the commentator mics.
Yeah, Mike is so
Mm,
loud.
And like
mhm.
it's memed about locally in NorCal, but he doesn't do it as much anymore. But back then, when he gets a flash kick faded or he gets thrown and you hear the stick go boom and you hear him go fuck.
Fuck. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I love Mike. Mike is Mike it's a little off topic here, but I want to echo the sentiment towards Mike. He was a great like person to learn from as well as a fellow Batista player and like a great friend, right? I really got to spend a lot of time with him in Japan recently, and just shooting the shit with him was like a good time.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mike's
Yeah, he was
very
really chill.
amiable. As a NorCal player, like he's definitely one of our strongest ones. And yeah, like I alluded before, but I guess now it's time for me to go like just get on just rep that NorCal flag. But yeah, like I feel like NorCal, like we kind of broke the game hella early. I think it's either Brett or like 2 Gig that was like, yo, these game mechanics are like really good. So a lot of the early times was just trying to figure out how can we, abuse the grid system for the better for the better things. Like honestly, like NorCal was like so stacked because we had like 2 Gig, Lolly Michael, Tari, Brett was a problem at several points because nobody knew the Seth matchup. Um
Mhm.
I feel like I'm missing a lot of other people. Oh, CT Warrior, that
Yeah,
fool.
CT Warrior, CT Warrior. Yeah.
CT Warrior was a nut. Like he carried all the mashing skill from Melty Blood over to like Uni, and this fool was like, yo, if he's not on offense, he's losing. like,
I'm
that
Vex
miss
guy.
had a
CT
pretty
Warrior.
good Gordo player out there too, if I remember
We
right.
had a lot of good guard. Oh, Gonzo won our first tournament, and we were pissed.
Yeah, Hanzo is sleeper. He did something similar in ST where like he takes a back seat and starts running production and stuff, and then a new game comes out, he shows up, streams it, plays it, bullies people for like a solid like half a year.
Yeah, that's the correct assumption of Hanzo Gonzo because like in NorCal, like when a new game comes up, Hanzo's easily top 3. It doesn't matter who it is, like what game it is. He'll figure out some dumb stuff and then he'll just run the dumbest thing on you until you figure it out. And Gordo and Unil, oh my god, that fool was like Byakuya levels of like problematic because that fool was stealing grid all the time. You got no turns on that fool, and
Yeah,
his mix was ridiculous.
that was one of the things with EL is that characters who couldn't route into good Oki with good damage, well, Gordo could do that. You hit a
Yeah,
random, other than like the weird glitchy range of 5C Mortal Slide, where sometimes Mortal Slide wouldn't pull in.
yeah.
If
Oh
you
yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
if you were in like the tip range where Mortal Slide would pull in, that combo probably led to 3K, led to a sim, stolen grid, spaced them out for 5B, which spaced them out for a 2B or ASM.
Mhm.
And you were getting bodied either way.
No, it's a true mix-up because a sim
5A low.
also grabbed two C low, right? But no, a sim grabbed normals in that game
The
Yep.
sim grab
I
normals.
coming
I
out.
remember specifically I did not say like 2C for max range and I got to simulate it. I threw my stick.
Mhm.
I
No, I would try to
got
bust
done
out with
dirty.
like Akatsuki 5B and he would grab my leg and I would get a simmed. I actually even I think I put out a short for maybe Zoomers who haven't had the chance to experience that. But no, like a sim was broken. Like it was so broken that they changed the animation from
Yeah,
EL
Yeah.
to ST.
because
It was
just
crazy.
just 5B into that mix up of either 2B or 2C or a sim, which also caught jumpstarted for some god awful reason.
Mhm.
Like it had to change, so they changed the range of a sim, so you couldn't
Yeah.
tick her off of it 5B anymore. Which thank God, because you know it's a problem at the end of EL lifespan when Vancouver's best Merc player was playing guard, Vancouver's best Hilda player was playing Gord because he
Oh
didn't
yeah.
want to fight Hilda into Gord. He barely wanted to fight Hilda into Merc, but he would put up with it. and,
It was
and then it
rough.
just poor mean subversion. Like, all right, so it's Gord, Vat. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Oh, maybe Joe visited, so there'd be one Aurier, and we'd have a blast.
So yeah, like NorCal was like a problem early on. Like the funny part is like I remember I remember being like if I cracked top 8 in a NorCal weekly and Game Center with all these killers in the field, like I'd be happy. That means I beat at least one person good in losers. So so we had that. The funny part is there was one time when I went to SoCal for a perfume concert, and
Ooh.
there was a weekly going on over there as well for uni. Like this is super early, so I go down there. Surprisingly, I win. I was like, this never happens, like back in NorCal. So like that that part plus like Brett hosting a tourney at his house, like 2 Gig was like hella like on something tonight because he was talking mad trash about SoCal, like letting me win of all people.
Yeah,
And
two
then
two gig was probably, and this is probably still like one of the most OG powerhouses to in this game series at all. I remember seeing him at random Northwest majors,
Mm-hmm.
to show up, and I'm like, oh, there's no way this Carmine player is gonna beat our bet like Klim and Shao, and he just like, you got the touch, it's over.
Yeah.
Deal with my fuzzy, bro. Like, oh shit, this
Yeah.
2 gig guy is kind of good.
Two gig was dirty because like this fool would pick yellow Carmine, so
Yep.
he'll deliberately go for yellow throws, and because of the yellow like puddle splashing, he's like sometimes you don't even tech it.
Yep.
It's so dirty.
Dude, Mike does the same thing. He picks the pink Batista with the yellow wings because the gem explosions are yellow. So he
Yep.
deaths the gem and does a gold throw.
That's how I felt with Fox Up too, because he used to play Yellow Batista, so
Yeah.
like, it was so
It's
cheap.
so messed up.
Yeah, so like that win plus like 2 gig talking mad trash to SoCal. We had our first like rivalry with SoCal, and like this is where we saw a bunch of we saw young Kizzy. Like this fool, I've never heard of this dude, but like he tore up like so there was a 7v7 NorCal versus SoCal at a random weekly with the spark of it. So yeah, so like NorCal came down, like young Kizzy tore up like half our team, and then we sent in CT Warrior, and he reversed OCV all of SoCal. And SoCal's lineup was stacked. They had KFL, they had LPT, they had Breaker Dave on that team, and I
Is
was like,
this
yo,
was this the time when Kim was coming out, IFL was coming out? Because those guys
yeah,
were low key killers at the time too.
yeah, our
Oh
fan was
yeah.
on that team as well.
Like those are some OGs I haven't talked to in a long time, but
Yeah,
they were good.
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, speaking of SoCal, I talked to Splugy,
ooh,
excuse me, the other day. Apparently KFL is going to come back and play Uni
Let's
2.
let's
go.
go.
I'm excited. KFL, another one of those players who's basically like your favorite player. So like
But your
it's gonna
TO's
be exciting.
favorite, but your TO's least favorite player.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he has a messed up like friggin' 15 like character like password that you have to like type out every single time. And he's gonna mess up new TOs because they don't know what to do with that.
Yep.
They don't know he's KFL.
I think that was the worst arc of most Uni players. I think like late EL, early ST, people were just constantly changing their names.
Yeah, like friggin' Giuseppe would keep changing his name.
Giuseppe, yeah.
Brett
Yeah,
was
just up
also
here.
one of those
Brett,
fools who just
Dark Flame
changed his name.
Master.
Dark Flame Master. Oh, Giuseppe Super Science.
Yep, Super Science.
Super Science was a whole team.
Yeah. I miss Giuseppe. 2C was the goat.
I think Giuseppe is still playing a couple different games.
He
I know he plays Lumina a little bit still.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
he plays Lumina. He beats my ass in Lumina every time we randomly play. He plays Grand Blue, I would assume, and he probably plays Gran at that same. Just
yeah,
plays very fundies characters.
I think he got sucked into Koi as well, Koihime. I know he was
That NorCal
he was
special.
playing
Yep.
he was playing with Burger Time and then like even back then when he was Pittsburgh, so like Midwest adjacent. But yeah, I feel like I saw him in the results for Koihime
It's
at one of
hard.
the NorCal Dark fights recently.
It's hard not to get sucked into Kohime when you're in NorCal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
Honest
even
footsies.
yeah, like I dabbled in Kohime because I once I was explained how it worked and started playing it, it felt really good. And every time I'm like hanging out with NorCal guys in anywhere, it could be in the East Coast, it could be in the Midwest, it could be in Japan. At some point, someone's turning on Kohime, and I'm like, you know what? I will give this game another go. And it's just the funnest time. I don't know what
It's pretty
NorCal
fun.
does.
I know
NorCal's magical, man.
like Miller played it, Brandon, NYCZ Brandon, or now Kai I actually. All of them played it. Like there was a period where I think a lot of people ended up playing.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those games that like I mean, subject material aside, because that's certainly a deterrent depending on who you talk to.
What subject material? I only know the
Three
fighting game.
Kingdoms.
Yeah,
Woo, boo.
exactly.
Woo
Romance
boo.
of the Three Kingdoms. Rollback is basically one of the few things that's keeping that game from, I think,
Yeah.
very large popularity as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
All right. Are we ready to move on to ST?
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
This
All
is the
right.
wheelhouse. We're definitely going to be off topic, I think, in this one.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like, so here's the thing about like right? Like we had 3 fun, but fun years of uni, but that meta felt kind of stale going into what 2017. Like at this point, we had a lot of major releases. We had Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7 finally hitting consoles, and then we also had the big one, which is Guilty Gear Xrd hitting the
Mhm.
market. And then at this time, 3 years old without any major balance patches, basically we're playing the same, 1.0 minus, wall finites, for example. Like a lot of people in the anime community kind of took a backseat around this time. I remember that final year running at Anime Evo, we barely cracked like 60 people.
Yep.
I almost made
So
top
Was
8 that
was that the
tournament.
one? Did Squish win that tournament, or Squish?
No.
I think got second there, right? Or is
No,
my memory wrong?
that EL tournament, I don't think Squish was
I could
in
look it up.
that one. That was the one where we had to replace all the music with that one Nanase House theme remix.
I hate all of y'all, by the way.
Oh
You
yeah.
were the one running the stream.
I was.
What was there was a really bad meme that we kept. Oh, that boy.
Bighorn.
We kept we
Bighorn,
kept
yeah.
yeah, Bighorn. We kept bringing back that guy whenever like something happened. It was a mess because during that time people were just copyright striking EL music,
Yep.
and
Oh, okay.
it was such a mess.
So I'm assuming that this tag is actually Giuseppe winning that year.
Probably.
Giuseppe playing
Actually,
Gorgo.
that probably sounds about right. Who was second place that year?
Breaker Dave.
Okay, I think that was Giuseppe then,
Yeah,
because
because
Giuseppe I think was essentially our best player.
yeah. I mean, like this is not Giuseppe's tag. It's like Zeno-sama. I don't know what it is right now, but I see this
That's
full guy.
got to be Giuseppe.
No,
That's
that's
got to be.
Giuseppe.
All right, because I see this fool also
Zeno-sama
got.
was definitely Giuseppe.
I also see this fool got second place at Nitro Plus Blasters that same year. So I'm like, this has to be Giuseppe.
Yeah, that's definitely Giuseppe.
All right. So yeah, we're going tail end of It was kind of getting like becoming an old game, stale like meta as I like to fucking put it at that time. But yeah, and then once again, like the Japanese release date for Uni ST came weeks after Evo. So we missed another chance at getting that at Evo. So yeah, but just like any good story, there has to be some adversity before moments of triumph, right? Units
Absolutely.
Units brought in 4 new characters: Phonon, Mika, Wagner, and Enkidu, as well as a much needed balance patch to freshen up a stagnant meta. At the time, critics praised its expansive story mode and detailed tutorial mode. The former digs into each character's backstory and fleshes out their motivations and ambitions, while the latter goes above and beyond, teaching the nuances of Uni's expansive system mechanics and various upper level techniques that's needed to go from becoming a good player to a great one. What parts of Unis that impressed you the most when it came out?
For me, I think it would have had to been the mission mode. We talked about it earlier, or even off the mic, off recording. We talked about how hard it was to really like gather those resources, and
Mhm.
sometimes gathering those resources can be as like tedious as what combos to do, blah blah blah. I learned most of my combos off of watching like CMVs, and CMVs are not combos per se. They are like things that they are meta. They're things you shouldn't be trying to do. But like it was hard to find like good resources, and the mission mode came out. Um, and like these weren't just baby's first missions. Well, most of them, anyways. A lot of them led into a good route theory for characters that were already established, and that would like build into further exploring more optimal routes, but gave you a really good baseline to start out with a character, at least for the characters that existed. Of course, Wagner and Kidu, Mika, Phonon, those characters needed a little more time to cook before like their combos really got fleshed out. So the mission modes there were a little raw, but you take what you get, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the tutorial by itself. I remember going through that like day one, and like reading stuff that like I never knew about before. And I've been playing this game for like 3 years. I'm like, bro, like I didn't know about getting extra wall bounces and ground bounces if you cash in, all your grid
Six
at a certain
bar,
point.
yeah, 6 bar CS.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
that
didn't
blew
know
up my
about
quota.
Kara throw. Like it teaches you how to Kara throw in
Yeah.
that game. Like it's pretty cool. So, for me though, I mean, like, all I cared about was Akatsuki. So,
Mm-hmm.
Akatsuki got drastically overhauled, which is funny to think about because I think ST Akatsuki really sucks. But uh, the sheer change from EL to ST, like, really made me like impressed. I was like, oh, they really know that this character sucks. Like they are trying their hardest to improve this character. Um, I think it was that the tutorial. Those were like the two things that really impressed me. Um, I still did go through like Chronicle mode, so I got to learn a lot about like this game because you really only knew arcade story from EL, and even in ST, it kind of like corroborates a little bit with like the arcade stories depending on which arcade story you do
Mm-hmm.
with the chronicle mode. But like I didn't know that the Tsukuyomi that is next to Vatista and comes out, or not Vatista, Byakuya, that comes out and talks to him in his intro is not actually his sister because his sister died. Like, it's the other character, Strix, who is now posing as his sister. Like,
Mm-hmm.
those little details are like why Seth was so attached to Line. Like, learning those things were like really cool. It was like, oh, there's like a whole overarching story that I had no idea about. That was like really impressive to me.
Yeah, my favorite thing is like coming from a person who really loves visual novels. I like how when you finish one person's arc, it opens up all these other arcs that are somewhat related, but also
Hmm.
helps break up the pace of your reading. So you'll read something like super heavy, like I don't know, like Gordo's like background or something like that, and
Hmm.
then it opens up for some reason like Mika's like storyline, and she's all like coloring crayons and stuff, and like all of her stuff looks like mad cartoony and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, this is definitely something I need as a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Honestly, I sorry, Suika,
Oh yeah,
I'll
go
do
ahead, go
this
ahead.
real quick. Honestly, like when I saw Mika's design when she came out, I was completely unimpressed. She was not the archetype of character that I find myself fond about, for various reasons. But um, when I read her Chronicle mode, I was like, this girl is great. She works so hard to come see her friends. Like,
Yeah,
man,
she
Mika's
she
sick.
literally avoided like she literally evaded like international like police to like hang out
Yeah.
with the homies.
She crossed international waters to be with her best friend. Like, how can you not love that? Like, that really like grew my love of certain characters for sure. What
Like
were you about to say
aside,
though, Suka?
yeah, aside from just learning about characters, character interactions that you see, like things that you kind of get a feel for character interactions when you see like Gordo being angry at Wagner at like round start, or Lene and Hyde having their like pre-game line, right? But
Hmm.
when you get to see their interactions in a written story mode, translation issues aside, because sometimes errors occur, you never really know. But like just having Aurier say I'm not a potato when like talking with
Yeah,
Wagner, like
Yeah,
spawns
that
so
was
many good moments.
so many memes and moments.
Yeah,
Potato posting still very common
put
to this day, by the
potato
way.
posting very common. I think the comment command is potato or some something like
I,
that.
I think it is Potato Orie in the main Uni Discord. That's
Yeah.
Suika is the owner of.
Heck, people might not even know why Lexbot is called Lexbot. And then you play the story and you're like, oh,
Yep.
it's a bot named after Lex.
Yep.
Like,
Lex, for those who don't know, small spoiler, I guess. Lex is a part of the team, the Light Christ team that now Kaguya has joined. Well, she's been a long member, but she joined this game, coming out Uni 2. But like her, Line, or not, excuse me, her, Orie, Mika, Lex are all a part of the four-man squad for that team. And so that's why it's Lexbot. She's the information officer basically for that group.
yep.
So
And my
there's
main way of transferring memes to people.
mhm,
I love her. She's Cookie's daughter, and I will respect her.
yeah. Shout outs to Lexbot. So speaking of a quick meme before we maybe go into our next section, uh the FD Lexbot and FD, or excuse me, exclamation point FDX is a meme that you may see people talk about, especially in this new game. So basically in the main Unicord, we have a bot that tells you frame data. It tracks back to EL as well. You have to put in ELFD for frame data.
Yes, sir.
But a common thing was when you used to play JJ or Findo or something like that, you would play JJ and he'd be, beating you up with lean A. You're getting hit by, blocking 66B or 214A. It's like, I know these are negative. Why can't I win? Why can't I mash here? So a very common experience was like someone would play JJ and you'd pop into, Lexbot, you'd see FD lean A, 214A, C -2. So you knew that somebody got smoked by JJ. It's like a
Yeah.
rite of passage. FD lean A or FD Wagner, whatever, because you ran into Findo or Red. I feel
Well,
like we're going to see a lot more of that if you're in the main Unicord.
you
I'm
just
looking forward to
reminded
that.
me of something that I'm gonna have to be not begrudgingly, but like ask Cookies with fear, because we're gonna have to update that.
Yeah, there
And
there is in-game frame data, so we might
I think
not
it'll be
have
easier.
to, but
Yeah,
we still probably should.
yeah, because sometimes when when you're net playing, you can't see in-game frame data. So like having quick
Yeah,
access to it through Lexbot might be helpful. Though
yeah,
having in-game frame data does make it a lot easier, because there were a lot of eras where people tried to make uni frame data bots during EL,
yeah.
and like the skeleton was there. I think you were still a mod when we had the first attempt at it, actually.
Yep, I
and
was.
and it got so messy because they were trying to figure out how would they notate all this like variable frame data when it came to like rebeating and doing this and that.
Yep.
And like the system of uni like added so many random complications in terms of frame data that it made it like really confusing how to parse frame data until we just decided, okay, whatever, frame data on block, that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah, legit. Because like there's variable frame data depending on like how deep, and this is common knowledge I think now. If you have
Yeah.
like a jump in normal that's deeper, like you're generally more advantaged if it hits late in the active frames. Uh, but when shield comes into play, I think shield adds like 10 frames of recovery to whatever like jump normal you are doing when you land. That drastically changes like how plus or not plus a certain normal is. And so if somebody just sees plus whatever on block, they might not know how to parse that with shield or something like that. And so that was like a discussion point back when I was a moderator for the main Unicord about like how to do that. And we went with the easy way, as we
Yeah,
should have.
honestly, Occam's razor, man, the easiest
Yeah,
solution.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So yeah, let's talk about 2018. This seems to be where the year where uni starts being like a force to contend with. I would like to say. Yeah, so we saw a lot of record-breaking attendance at Combo Breaker and as an Evo side tournament. I remember I was getting really worried because I was organizing that one with Arxis, and I was like, "Yo, we have like 200 people. Am I gonna have friggin' enough setups to like get this done?" But yeah, like our Access Games really helped me out. Like they brought in like I believe like 12 setups, so there was
Yeah,
even
huge shout
casuals.
outs to them.
Yeah, they got a big old like thing that year. So yeah, shout out to them. They really helped me get through that humongous bracket. I think that was at the time that was like the biggest uni tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
2018 was a good year.
Yeah,
Access had their hand in for in like in the uni blender for so long. They probably have a stump by now with how much they've been like reaching out
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
into the blender, you know.
I remember talking to like Taka and some of the other
Big
reps
love to
when
Taka, dude.
yeah. Huge
huge
love to
love to
Taka.
Taka. When I was like flown out for Anime Ascension that year, where I got to do that crew battle. But yeah, like they were really key, I think, in helping with some of the momentum here. Uh I'll kind of preempt you a little bit here since I can kind of explain how Uni exploded in popularity. I would say that this was a targeted effort more than anything, and Suika can corroborate this story. Um, I think this was like toward the end of EL. where everybody was like struggling to keep up motivation for the game. Obviously, like Sea Otaku 2017, which had the Squish and Infinity Finals, was like a huge launching point for the version. It hadn't come out in English yet, so we had to do the import thing. But I remember Suika, me, and some of the other people in Uni General were talking about like, hey, there's going to be a million different tournaments that come out because this game just came out. It's going to be popular and things of that nature. But I, as a Smash player, had seen Genesis, like the Kisses tournament, FC, and some of the other events that Smash players would pool resources to go to. So instead of having like 10 different events, you would pool your resources to go toward like just a handful of events where everyone showed up, or as many people in the region showed up, so you could get that kind of like community aspect. And so we really tried to get people to go to certain tournaments. So like rest in peace to Michigan Masters 2018 was a big
Me
landmark for
mass.
that. Shout outs to Mimas. Frosty Faustings obviously 2018 was
Obviously,
huge.
yeah.
Combo Breaker, you know, I mentioned the Smash community, but also like Skullgirls. Skullgirls' big tournament was UFGCT going into Combo Breaker.
Hmm.
And so I was like, so many people go to CEO Otaku, so many people go to Combo Breaker. Like let's hit one major a season. Let's just try to pull everybody to that. So it's like CEO Otaku, I think Frosty Faustings, Combo Breaker, and Evo as well, because West Coast didn't really have a lot of tournaments that served that sort of function.
And
Yeah.
and the worst
Northwest
part is like
Majors was there.
West Coast didn't really travel out as well. So like we're
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was more like I think a concerted community effort to make certain tournaments important, and that's like how I think everything blew up, because it's like, oh, okay, everybody saw everybody getting excited for people in the crowd and shouting this out. Something would go viral or something. It's like hashtag play Uniel, or we would be showing off our players and like showing how much fun that we were having. uh I think that had a lot more to do with like Uni's kind of explosion in popularity. But how do you feel about that, Suika?
So the idea, the way it ended up working out, because I remember it was a big thing in general chat back before we had a uni discussion. Shout outs to that.
Mhm.
Uh, we as a community were small enough that we were tight knit enough that we knew that having all these tournaments to go to was just going to be a fool's errand to try and go to them all. So
Mhm.
you're yeah, having like when everyone came together to come up with that idea based off of like when Smash players would congregate at certain tournaments, that's that was that was definitely one of the big, probably the biggest part of the explosion in growth for popularity. And of course, like shout outs to like the majors constantly giving us opportunities like Combo Breaker. I don't think there's been a Combo Breaker where Uni wasn't like a game on the lineup, in recent time.
Yeah, since ST, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Uniel,
Oh,
2016, I think it wasn't a main game, but
yeah.
since then, basically.
Yeah, and like, dude, without like combo break, because we couldn't count on Evo is the thing, right?
Hmm.
We can all attend Evo as for any Evo and show up for the side tournament, and that'd be great. But that wasn't what we as a community wanted, especially like DJ Cream. You know how it was during the EL time, right? I don't know what it was like to constantly be like not get that opportunity at Evo. I wasn't part of the community yet,
to be
but
fair,
you
around that time, like Evo was like straight up like neglecting a lot of the anime FGC stuff.
yeah.
Oh
Because like
yeah,
there'd be years where it was like one anime game, and then all the anime players were just like, yeah, this is not enough. We played too many like anime games that we want to like do
Yeah, it
stuff
was
for the
either
time.
Blaze Blue that one year or Melty that one year, and like we couldn't depend on Evo because Evo had other games to run, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so,
Combo
so
Breaker did give us that opportunity come ST and kept giving us that opportunity. So like, of course, Combo Breaker became super
I
huge, and
I
for
think
us.
to add into that, and this is really not to give any disrespect or shade to any other events. I'm not going to name any events,
Of course.
but you would run into situations where you had 30, 40 people show up and you'd have one or two setups, or people would have to, they paid money to attend, but there's no setups and they'd have to provide their own setups and run their own tournament that they came in. And for us as players, we were like, look, we want to go somewhere where people care that we're there. Like, we want to feel like we belong in the space. We want to feel like we're kind of catered to. It's like we don't want to be an afterthought. Like, if we're going to pull our money and resources to come here, let's have a proper tournament. Let's have staffing. Let's have streaming. Let's make sure that we are getting treated as we're supposed to be treated. And I think that that was a big thing, kind of like Suika said. Like with Combo Breaker, you felt like they wanted us to be there. You felt like there was a stage for us to compete on and really show up on. And I thought that that was really important.
Yeah, and of course, like Frosty Faustings always had our back. Anime Ascension,
That was
of
huge.
course, that was
Mhm.
huge for us, especially on the West Coast,
West
because like you
Coast,
said,
yeah.
West Coast was kind of dying in terms of big majors that we had. Anime Ascension was still around, but Northwest Majors was slowly dying out. Unfortunately, no one wanted to come to PNW. It kind of sucked. Canada
Same,
had
same
no,
with same with NCR, dude. Like I tried. That's my
yeah,
local, and like I tried really hard to like get people to come out, but
yeah,
like you said,
NCR.
we were like an afterthought for the most part.
But like Canada had nothing. We if we wanted to go to a Canada major, it was Canada Cup. Canada Cup didn't care about anime games. Maybe they cared about Blaze Blue or Exerd
Or
when Exerd
Guilty
was
Gear,
out,
maybe.
right?
Yeah, excellent.
And so like, well, we can't go there because Lapchi just doesn't want to run our game. So when we found what tournaments to go to, CO Otaku being another one where like, yeah, CO Otaku will have us. They will gladly like give us all the fanfare to really like hype up our game. We got to go to
Really
see
shout out to
Otaku.
Jabali. Shout out
Yeah.
to Jabali. That was huge. And we're dancing around it a little bit, but with final round, I think changing how its relationship with anime games kind of were, that's what gave us the space for Climax of Night. Huge shout outs to Shinobi.
Of
Everybody has to
course.
give him
Yep.
his flowers. Like, it's crazy. Like, it maybe now that it's what, 6 years past or something like that, someone coming out of their own pockets to make not just an anime major, which was like pretty big, like See Otaku was groundbreaking for that, but like French bread only, you
Yeah,
know,
no Blaze Blue, no Guilty
no
Gear to
Guilty
like
Gear,
be
none of that.
the flag bearer. That was a
Yep.
huge risk.
No Street Fighter, no Marvel, nothing. Like, that was insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I know all
Not
the OGs came out like in droves just to support, like the whole thing. Like all the Melty Blood heads came out, and that was refreshing to see.
and
Oh
not to
yeah.
say that those games weren't run there. It was run by the community who was there at the time to play them, but it was a show for French bread.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And like it felt that way. It really did. I was choked up when I couldn't go to the first Climax tonight because I was unsure if it could do it. And coming Canada to anywhere in the States is always like
Difficult.
a big slap on the credit card bill. But when I saw it, because that was where reload
Reload,
happened.
Hmm.
dude.
That was the first time. Like I was choked, but
Dude, I
like
was
to take a
sitting
risk
next.
like that, damn, dude.
I was sitting next to Jay, and both of us were drinking, and then Jay, Michigan Masters like head TO. He was on that juice that night, and he was being mad vocal, and for
Hmm.
some reason, blah blah blah, reload was like the thing because we were like, yo, time crisis.
Hmm. Shout
Oh
outs
yeah,
to Idolism
reload,
J,
reload.
real one.
Yeah, super
Oh
real.
man,
I was
JJ
like,
is a homie.
yeah, I was sitting right next to him. I was like, yo, you're on something here. Let me go help you out. And then yeah, it's and yeah, that was like one of the more memorable like crowd participation moments of that night for sure.
You know what the craziest thing about Climax One was? We had the video of Kamine and the team reacting to us. Do
Yeah,
you remember that?
I recall
I
this.
had
Yeah,
never seen that in my life before. Like, that Kamine and them really, like, that's when we knew, like, they're really watching us. They really
Yeah.
They
They
know
knew.
what we're doing.
Yeah. It was it was something because I know it's been like said through the grapevine that like in Japan, uni is not as popular as it is here in the West for us, you know? So like imagine that as a game developer, you're like, our game's doing okay here home wise, but did you see these Americans go hard on our game? Like that must have been something else for them. But they had a tournament for games that we develop. Climax the night, man.
Yeah,
Shinobi. If anyone says Shinobi's not the GOAT, like you're wrong.
yeah, he's a goat.
Objectively,
Objectively wrong.
the facts don't line up with that opinion.
Yeah,
Shinobi
that
is in
math ain't
fact the
mathin'.
GOAT.
And I think maybe part of that too, uh, kind of speaking of developer interactions, and we'll kind of go into Uniclear slightly later. Um, that was like maybe some of the first time that I think we saw developers really interacting with the community. Uh, we you probably remember this, Suika, but like when everybody was freaking out that Kamine started following us on Twitter,
Yep,
Yep.
you remember that?
I
It's like, oh
do.
my god, Kamine followed me, oh my god. And then like we started to kind of see more interaction with like Japanese uni players because I would say basically all the way up until ST, they didn't really care about what we were doing. Like they didn't really know like about NA overseas uni. They weren't really particularly interested in I think what we were doing. And then, 2018 and then of course 2019
Yeah.
with its addition into Evo officially, finally, that was when I think the Japanese community really started to understand like how much overseas players love the game.
Dude, I feel like, I mean, this is probably my personal bias, but I feel like at Evo 2019, I definitely feel like the uni crowd felt like a natural born like esports crowd because like we saw hella people like cheer for their favorite players, kind of like how people would cheer for like Kobe Bryant or like LeBron, and even like there's fun like little things you can do, like whoever brought those Mika face masks, bro, like that
Shout
should be
outs to
like
Chicagoland.
That
That was
Chicago, yeah.
Queen of
y'all
Hearts.
y'all y'all were killing it because I feel like everybody loved those things.
And I think something to mention in regards to that, because this is all this stems from how did uni explode? Like we had the specific targeted events. We had a lot of word of mouth, right? Uh, if you talk to top players back then, you even they would be like, I do like uni. I just don't, there's not a lot of players playing it, blah blah blah. And then, but they would tell you that uni is actually a really good game. Ultra Chan, of course, had their series of primers to like talk up the game. Every player who played uni would not shut up about uni. The spread was really good, and I think it really cemented the community aspect of FGC, and something that I don't that I feel a little at loss at when it comes to other communities, especially like older communities that have grown to like much larger sizes, like your Capcom communities or Tekkens and such, where um they their communities feel really segmented and like separate at times.
I'm glad that
So
you mentioned that too, Suika, because one of the things that I know in ST we certainly did, even going into Clear, we wanted to emphasize that we're not doing that be Can I curse on here actually? I've been like
we
very
we we
careful
we,
around it.
we definitely
We've been
dropped a couple
cursing.
of fucks.
Okay. Yeah. We're not on that bullshit with, character discords. Leave that shit in other games. Like your top players are going to be in the main Unicord. Like they're going to be in their character channels. They're going to be in Uni discussion. You're going to see them in PC. Like if you went into the Uni Discord, you knew you were seeing Sploogy, Burger Time, Squish, Red Blade, Findo, KFL, like Eltnum, Cookies, like anyone more or less, EU players like Hiari and Wildty, like we were all in there. So like there wasn't really that sense of distance, maybe like, oh, you see Punk in Street Fighter, he's going to roll with his people that he has come up with. You might play him in an online tournament, but like you don't really have an opportunity to talk to him. That's not quite the case, I think, with our community. And it's going to be interesting to see how that changes if Uni 2 blows up the way that ST blew up. But for the most part, like, if you want to come talk to me, like, I'm not in some weird ass Discord, like, by myself. You know, like, we do have regional Discords to some extent. Like, I'm the owner of the Midwest Uni Discord. LP's Monta and them run the Northeast French Bread. But outside of those regional discords, which are still open to join, by the way, there's the main uni discord. So like, if you want to ask me a question about Akatsuki, go into the Akatsuki channel. I'll answer it. Squish will answer it. Salty will answer it. If you have a question about Fatista, Suika, and Stranger and Foxov, like we're in those channels. You can see us. You can talk to us.
Yeah, to
And
echo
I
on
think that
that,
that's a little different.
yeah, to echo on that, like these discords that separated, they're not separated like entirely, right? They're just what I've always wished for the unicorn, and I know I've talked with Drew about this on multiple occasions, most recent one
Hmm.
being when we were on a train in Japan. But my goal for Unicorn after I had taken the reins, shout out to the Homer Rib, the original creator,
Hmm.
um, was that I didn't want it to be the one Discord. It will end up that way naturally because that's where all the people are at. But as a bridge, as a way to create connections and like have connections further down the line, I think it's succeeded in what I've wanted it to be because there are like there are plenty of discords, plenty of separate tournament discords. Like there's the Vortex Gallery discords that you can go to for Vortex Gallery events. There's WASD Gaming. They're their own separate community, but with as much connection into the Uni community as the Uni Discord is, right? There's like PNW Air Dashers, the Vancouver's Discord, but they don't feel like separate discords. They just feel like more specific areas so that you could talk with people local to you or like get games local to you or like focus on there. And then when you have questions for other characters, when you have questions for concerning your character in a matchup, the unicorn having everyone having access to it and everyone speaking in it, top level, mid level, low level, like you'll get your answer and it won't be as echo chambery as some of like the character discords I've been a part of and have seen. We I feel like Unicorn has helped break down like those barriers and build really good connections with players around the world. What
Yeah,
I
like
have yeah
I know,
to,
like, if I had an issue with Hilda or something, I could go in and ask Untold Melody
yeah
in the Hilda channel, like, "What do you think about this interaction?" Go ahead, Suika.
yeah and to really finish off because you're right and there's going to be another uni boom and I think my biggest worry because is not necessarily the administration side of it. The uni community has been pretty good at self gatekeeping the real problematic like people whenever they can, at least in my eyes. Others will have their own opinions, and to them, if you would like to voice them to me, by all means, right? Because my opinion is not always right, and I love talking about it. But I'm afraid that like the sheer influx will create like another like social structure where these new players are the weak players who should listen to the strong players, and that's my biggest worry really. It happened a little bit in ST, not so much in Clear, which was interesting, and I think that's because everyone was online.
Mhm.
But come Uni 2, I can only hope that like the current string of top players is as helpful and welcoming and not very rough and opinionated and like self-serving in some ways so that we can continue to foster like a community that really does care about the community aspect of uni because at the end of the day, um, this wasn't like the growth of uni wasn't because the Discord was great or because like I had great plans or you had great plans. It was some plans were good and we all jumped on it together as a community to make it
Yep,
succeed, right?
absolutely.
And that's all I hope is that we continue with like community growth in that way.
Yeah, honestly, it's something that I've been trying to do. Like one of the projects that I'm working on is something specifically for the Midwest, but it's along that sort of line, like regional discords as far as I envisioned them, because like we kind of talked about them as a system back when I was a moderator, was like what I wanted to see people do with regional discords was kind of uh DJ Cream, you might have been around for Smashboards, but
Hmm.
you know how they had the regional forums
Yeah.
where you would have threads for tournaments and like here's the Ohio thread, here's the SoCal thread, and people would just kind of chill out in there and talk.
Yeah,
Uh
those were akin to like regional discords because I know like SRK used to have forums that dealt the exact same thing.
exactly. So that's what I wanted because I knew and I would see, and Suika, I would be knocking on his metaphorical door a lot when I was a moderator,
Oh
where I'm
yeah.
like, what can we do about this? Because I would see the seventh new player be like, you know, I don't have a uni scene. And like I'd see the Midwest tag because again, when you join the Discord for Undernight, you can sort yourself by region.
Color
There's like
codes.
I don't I don't have a local scene. And I'm like, me who has my eyes basically everywhere, it's like, probably not. Like I think there's probably a scene somewhere. They'd be like, oh yeah, I'm from the Chicago area, but I don't have a scene. And I'm like, how the fuck is that possible? Like
That's
you might not
incorrect.
know where your scene is, so let me point you to this. And that kind of led me to create the Midwest scene because we couldn't quite do the sheer amount of variations that I wanted in the main Unicord within regional sub areas.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was like, okay, we're not going to say that you can't find anybody in Chicago. We're not going to say that you can't find anyone in Detroit. Like, I literally just talked to players from there. Like, I just played some games with them. Let's match you with your scene. And so, like, kind of going back to what Suika was saying, trying to connect people with people, I think has been the goal for many of us in the uni community. We want people who love the game to also play the game with people who love the game. And I think that at its core is why uni exploded in popularity, why it did.
Yeah,
So
harking back on the regional channels that you because it was generally your idea and the execution was left up to me. But Discord back then was not as user friendly back then. Everything
No, it
was kind
wasn't.
of a
ah
mess. If you like look at Unicord now, you'll have the channels for main, tournaments and events, blah 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 blah. Before that, those didn't exist. It was just like an order of things, and it was kind of trash. But like since we evolved so far, like Unicord definitely like wouldn't need to make the regional channels because there's so many good regional discords now, especially like you said, your Midwest Discord. We have 2 or 3 PNW discords that help people find games. I'm sure Cali has like 7 or 8.
we got. I know Brett has a NorCal Discord, which is good for because like California is so massive, right? We're basically like the size of like 10 states.
Yep.
So yeah, for the most part, in NorCal we're separated by Bay Area, where I'm from, which is the Central Valley, which is mostly the farmland, and then some parts of North California, so like Sacramento and above. So yeah, there's like even though we're all collectively NorCal, there's still like a lot of different regions within us.
Yeah, heck, even recently a player by the name of Neku Sebas, who's been helping run or runs, I'm not 100% sure, the melty type Lumina scene for online LATAM North, came to me and asked, "Hey, can we talk about our server in Unicord because we're going to expand to Uni 2?" Like, hell yeah. LATAM North netplay community Discord? Sure, why not, right? And they're gonna build that bridge there, and hopefully Latin America benefits from it greatly, right?
Yeah,
Because we,
and
we
we
just want
definitely
the
have
bridges.
like, yeah, we have like hella worldwide people who cycle in and out. So like the Korean community we've had come in, Guri Guri and all of them. Obviously, I think Clasfer, who is trying to organize his way to Evo Japan this year. That's kind of part of the LATAM community. We have the Chilean scene, we have the Brazilian scene, we have various European scenes, as mentioned before. And so you're able to basically corroborate in the main Uni Discord and then kind of disperse to do local organizing too. And I think that was maybe one of the bigger goals that we had.
Yeah, I'd like to. I this has been a long time coming. But I should probably like express an apology to the EU general, having forced an ultimatum upon them and then completely wiped them out of existence for uh, for things not to be mentioned. But I definitely did them dirty. But they have a Discord themselves that's linked in in Unicord, and like that Discord is super sick actually. Like the EU Discord for Uni like is doing worlds better for EU than I ever could with one channel, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's another huge thing with like Uni and French bred communities that separate from Unicord for their regions. There's so much more that you can do when you have a channel dedicated to your region in particular. There is so much more you can do,
Yep.
and that was huge. Like if I wanted to like see how PNW is doing in like say I don't know Arcana Heart, one of the PNW discords that is like playing Uni actively might have like an Arcana Heart channel. I could never run that in the Unicord. It's Unicord, but I could play a PNW Arcana Heart player by joining that Discord, and I think that's super huge for like growing a scene in general.
Mhm. Yeah, like even in the NorCal channel, like we cater to not only like specific regions but also specific games. So if I need to go find a Melty Blood player like an hour away, like I could just ping somebody and be like, "Yo, are you down to play?" And like, "Yeah, we got a net play." So same thing. All right, should we go on clear now?
Let's move on
Yeah.
to clear.
All right, so UniClear famously was announced at the end of the Unist tournament at Evo 2019. Our boy Taka, shout out to Taka,
Shouts to
Shout out to
he's
Taka.
Taka.
yeah went on stage, dropped a sick new trailer. We kind of had an idea it was coming up because of like ESRB leaks overseas, but like just
Thank
to
you, Korea.
see, yeah, yeah, but to see it in action, that's the sick part because it like that trailer showed off every character doing one new move, and we were like, what is going on here? So, yeah, unfortunately, it was announced to be released on consoles February 2020. I think everyone knows what happened in the year 2020. A global pandemic hit the scene before Uniclear got to get its feet into the ground and start off running. Famously, Uniclear is one of the main mini games that was announced recently. Others being Soul Calibur 6, Samurai Showdown. Those games had lackluster net play, and the pandemic kind of hammered home that like, yo, for fighting games, we kind of need good net play nowadays. You
Yeah.
guys have any comments on that?
I mean, honestly, it's hard to sell uh community interest for a game that doesn't have rollback at this point. We're still not quite past post-pandemic era. COVID, you know, hopefully this isn't controversial, but COVID is still like very, very prevalent and is drastically on the uptick right now. But yeah, if you don't have an online package that can sustain the ability not to be able to play offline in good conditions, then I think you're going to be struggling a little bit. So for Clear, that was a big hampering, I think, for the community. Early on, you had the kind of like new game momentum. Everybody was excited to learn and play new things, and you would have these net play events. We did plenty of exhibitions and things like
Same
that.
with us. Yeah, like at 956, like we famously had plans to do something at Evo 2020 that didn't pan
Oh,
out, and then yeah, we kind of
among
like
among
broke out and
other
did our own thing.
things, yeah, among other things with Evo that year, besides the
Yeah,
pandemic. Oh, what
Yeah,
a
yeah,
that would have.
mess that year was.
Well,
yeah, yeah. But like for 956, at least like we got to try out a dramatic new thing. We were like, yo, let's just host a month-long like hella tournaments over the world, and like Uniclear happened to be one of them. We ran a couple of those, and yeah, people
regional.
enjoyed their time.
Yeah, so Suika and I actually got to work with Red Blade, who did the Reincarnation of Division series. These were like worldwide regional exhibitions, like first to fives, between players that we thought would be really interesting to see play against each other.
Yep.
Um, Honestly, like it's a project that I hope in Uni 2, Red or maybe someone else considers trying to do in the future. Like I had a blast being a part of that. Suika and I, Cookie, and like many other like commentators that and love were able to collaborate for that sort of project. There also was the interview series that Shinobi did talking to French Bread. So he got to talk to Kamine, and he talked to Raito, and talked to one of the lead developers. Uh, these are like many of the ways that I think that we tried to get people to stay interested in the game. In fact, like we found out that they had wanted to do rollback, I think maybe for clear, but it didn't quite work out timeline wise. And sort of the feedback that we gave them about net play and like why it was so important, especially for an area as big as the United States, where I think we were really able to kind of impress that upon them.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe that led to Lumina with the rollback, and now we're gonna have Uni 2 with rollback too.
Oh, and
Um,
the infamous who do I talk to about rollback tweet?
yep,
All the
Oh
copium,
yeah,
all
all
the
the
hopium
hopium.
that turned into copium, you
Yeah.
know, because like
it's like
we expected, I think, there to be a couple other updates for clear, but it didn't quite end up
Yeah,
being
rolling
able to
yeah,
out.
ship
that,
out.
that production cycle happened concurrently with Melty Blood type Lumina. So a
Hmm.
lot of those questions was like, hey, how can I implement rollback? But it turned out to be like it's easier to implement rollback when you're starting a fresh new game like type Lumina, and it's actually harder to like put it in a pre-existing game, especially for a game as old as the Uni series, because by then the Jenga tower is set. There's so many things you could pull out and like still be a standing structure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and French bread team having to work on Type Lumina with their not so large team meant that the hands that could be working on CLR for rollback probably didn't exist anyways, but
Yep.
we had hope. We had hope.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, and that hope, I think, even in the darkest times, because I would say that there are maybe three different periods in Uni's life cycle that I've been a part of where community morale was like pretty low.
yeah,
Um, the first one being, when we were looking at arcade footage in Japan for ST, because they had it 2 years before we even got our
Yep.
hands on it. Um, People were losing hope. We were like, well, I'm gonna move on to a different game because like French Bread doesn't seem like they care about us or something like that. Then Eunice came out, and then I mean, nobody really talks about this, but in 2019, players like Squish and Red Blade were considering retirement. People were like, I don't, ST is fun and everybody's having their time and everything like that. But like that was really a death march of events. We had the Red Bull Conquest series. We had people, you know, putting together huge packages to make sure that they could go to Evo. You had CEO that year, Michigan Masters that year, Frosty Faustings, Climax of Night 2019. Like it was
Haku
a
right after
big
all that. Yeah.
it was a big weight on everyone's pockets. They're like, I don't know if we can sustain this. Like we're a small community. Like players couldn't really do it. It's like, can I keep playing ST? Morale was like really low. Because we didn't expect to go back into Evo, even though we were really successful. And then Clear got announced, and then we knew the date that Clear was supposed to come out, and it was just like, holy crap! So like we had to dodge a couple different like low morale points.
And I think we've
Like,
done we miraculously made it out alive every time.
yeah, we've
Mhm.
persevered for real.
I'd say because like we'll talk about how COVID did us dirty, but COVID did all fighting games dirty.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot of
And
people straight up retired like
yeah,
during this time.
like Mortal Kombat, truly their scene's not doing great after COVID, even with rollback. Like Injustice, what happened to that? Well, they were making new Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter V's rollback was not the cleanest early on,
Yep.
and they really had to work on their rollback during COVID, right?
Hmm.
Um, and those like if we roll our conversation back to when we were talking about communities, those communities are super large. Oh, Tekken also. Those communities are
Yep.
super large, but not as like tight knit between top and bottom for player levels as Uni was.
Mhm.
So when COVID hit and like people who were done with the Evo hype, like that's fair. They got their Evo hype and they moved on to other games. Like we had whoever stayed around, but whoever stayed around really did their best to make it work, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, there were a lot of exhibition series. Pang Batier was one of them. Shouts to
Pange
Yep.
Patel. Yep.
that was a great series. There was Red Blade series. And one thing that really came out was the net play tournaments that started showing up for local scenes. WASD, right?
Huge shout outs to Imperius Club. If you don't
Yeah.
know, like I think I don't want to say as much as, but if you are not familiar with Under Night necessarily, or maybe you played before and you're not so cognizant now, if it wasn't for WASD and Imperius Club, I don't think that we really survived through like post 2021.
Yeah,
Like,
especially in that area of the world,
oh
right?
yeah,
Like, because
absolutely.
in the
Like,
West Coast, we also had we had the bots are taking over and Netplay Agony
yep,
from
Netplay
Ash,
Agni. Yep,
right? Like, and then Rurik was picking up his banner with Dennis, and they were running PNW plus Smiles tournaments. Shouts
yep.
to
Plus
Smiles.
smiles.
Less
Yeah,
Smiles, yeah.
plus Smiles router.
Yep. I
And
mean, even for my neck of the woods, we were doing low kick esports events too.
yeah,
So like,
and
Ghosted and I were holding down the mic, and I would enter from time to time. But those sorts of communities really kept the torch going. Like,
yeah, and like Waz definitely was the big front runner at the end of it all.
yeah, I think when we finally were able to start going to events, Crossover Arc was huge.
Yep, crossover
Crossover
arc
Arc
was.
is probably now one of our more important events, especially for the younger generation
I think
of
yeah,
Under Night players.
I think if it wasn't like if we take away all our standard FG super majors, right? Um, your priority list should be climax and then crossover. I
I mean, now
think
we have Slashback too.
we have slashback also. Slashback is
Texas
gonna
Showdown was good for us for a while.
Slashback is gonna be like the West Coast anime major, I believe. Not even just anime
Frosties as
major.
well.
Yeah, Frosties is always
Yeah,
good. Frosty's
Pinnacle.
been.
I mean, Pinnacle was like I think the first big major that everybody went to.
I yeah, I want to. I really really want to boost Pinnacle up in this talk, but I just have no very light confidence in it, or very little confidence in the financing behind it, because it's not VSB that like 100% runs it. It's uh what the gaming stadium. It's gaming stadium, and they're always a little shaky when it comes to planning these things out, and then Pinnacle also ends up being like a little hard on their wallets, and they can't see it past the monetary values at the
yeah,
current moment.
I mean, I think even as a player in the community who's wanted to go to Pinnacle, and it's not like we don't have East Coast players that don't go out to Pinnacle.
We've
We
had
have
so many
plenty
East
of
Coast players. Yeah,
plenty of
when
East Coast players and Southeast players go out to Pinnacle. For me, like the time of year and the cost is usually a little too steep for
Yeah.
me.
End of the year is always rough because that's when you're also contending with CEO, Taku, and Climax.
No, not
Yep.
even that. Just holiday,
Oh, yeah,
holiday
yeah, yeah.
As
travel in
well.
general. Yeah.
Dude, that was the biggest thing that hurt me whenever I wanted to attend Anime Ascension. Because Anime Ascension was one of the go-tos for sure. 100%. It was just on Valentine's Day weekend in one of the most expensive airports.
Yeah.
That combo was murder. But yeah, Pinnacle, like the turnout is always interestingly high. And like Ghosted has showed up both times, excuse me.
Nah, he loves the crew out there. You know,
Yeah.
He and Stang are really close.
Oh yeah.
Shout outs to Stanley.
If we have another Pinnacle again, we're gonna try and push it. We almost didn't have Under Night at Pinnacle this year.
Yeah, I
If you remember
remember.
that drive, right?
Yeah,
And
and then
that was like
you guys
we
had
had to
to
show
cap
them.
it and then beat cap I think a couple times.
Yeah, because like
Same thing
it
for
just
Texas
seems
Showdown, by the way.
silly. Yeah, it just seems silly that like a tournament that like Texas Showdown or Pinnacle, our scenes are not small for us, but in particular Under Night. We have really big Under Night in those areas as well as like some others. Like Vancouver, like local tournaments is usually like 70% Blaze Blue, and then some Blaze Blue crossover into Under Night with like the rest of it being in Under Night, you know? It's huge here. So like when they did announce like Under Night for Pinnacle, Aria and I were just like, excuse me?
Yeah,
Like how can you do this to us?
yeah.
But
So to
yeah,
all that to say, like the uni community, I think really responds well if you give us the spaces to play.
yeah,
Again, kind of like we talked about before, we want to match people with people, people who love to play the game. And you know, no disrespect to online play. Online play is fine. It's great. Not just fine, it is also great. You're going to expose yourself to a lot more play styles and things, and hopefully with rollback even more than you're used to currently. But there's something special with interacting with the community offline. That's
yeah.
what gives birth to things like, you know, CL Taku being as cherished as it is for a tournament for us, or Climax of Night, or Frosty Faustings. Again, like Frosty Faustings right now, today, you know, January 14th, 2024, the second largest Under Night tournament of all time.
On
And the game ain't out yet.
day one Uni 2 tournament. Like
Day
two, what
one.
were you 300 players almost?
No, we're over 500 players.
Oh my goodness.
Dude.
I've missed out
Comfortably over 500. Like,
comfortably.
again, Evo, I think, had like 1100 or something like that
Something like
in
that. Over
2019.
1,000. Like
Combo
close to
Breaker,
1,200.
yeah, Combo Breaker previously was second place with like 2 or 425 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, to put that into perspective, like this game has not come out yet, and this is the largest tournament that Uni has ever, second largest tournament that Uni has ever had.
Yeah.
Largest
Like,
outside of an official Evo game.
yeah, like that should tell you how much the community responds and how much the community loves the game, as long as you give us a space and appropriate time to collect resources for it, you know?
Yeah, and that was I think that was one of the biggest like things during the CLR era leading into like COVID and post COVID. Because we weren't so separated in terms of like community, because you play someone on net play and you grumble about 4 frame 5 frame delay, but you go into the LFG PC or net play discussion and you're like, at person I just played, what do I do? You know, you start those conversations and they'll respond to you because well, not everyone, but so many players who play net play during those times they were all active in Unicorn. You could
Yeah.
talk to the people who beat your ass or talk to the people who asked you just beat and be like, hey, do you mind if I give you ideas on what was occurring, you know?
Yeah. And
And like
honestly,
that.
like everyone's cognizant of the situations that you're actually playing online in. You know, like for a while there was like a small era where nobody would assault each other.
Oh, the net play handshake.
Yeah, the net play handshake where you wouldn't assault because you understood that like the delay
Or
meant that it was like,
if you
or you wouldn't
assaulted.
overhead that
Yeah,
much.
if you assaulted them and you hit the assault normal, you didn't combo.
Yeah, only if
you
a
never
grid
call
broken.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if a grid broke. So there were like little things of that nature. Now, thankfully, that sort of small meta changed as people got better at the game and as people started to understand how dealing with option selects and everything else worked. But those sort of discussions in the community were born from ways trying to improve the game play, like even leading into offline as well.
Yeah.
So like I think that speaks to just how the community, even with those little weird eccentricities, kind of like took root.
It did birth one of that meta did birth one of my favorite sayings. Overheads unlocked.
Overheads unlocked, yeah.
When someone hits you with the 6B in that 5 frame, overheads are unlocked, boys. It's
Yeah, it's
the
we're
the
back
the
on
the
it.
the nuke.
JACS is online.
Both 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 keys are in. You can hit the nuke button now.
Hmm.
It's time for war.
It's time for war. But yeah, long story short, the community really responded in many of the ways that we did in the past. Like we understand that we try to be player first. We want people to play the game. We want the people to play the game with us. We want to show people why we love the game that we love. Why we are able to stay around for 10 years. Kind
Oh,
of like Naruto-san said.
yeah, to echo on that one statement, we want to show people why we play the game. Shout outs to Combo Breaker again, man. The exhibition series and giving us another like opportunity to show off some uni on their dollar, on their time, right? We and you had a blast commentating that one there, along
Oh
with
yeah.
Shinobi. That was great, and we got to showcase it was the Chilean players, right?
Yep. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, the
like
all in together. Yep.
yeah,
Combo Breaker all in together.
like it's
So
it, like shout outs to them for giving us that opportunity too. Like,
and
goddamn.
honestly, that was kind of born from the community aspect. So I can kind of open the curtain from behind the scenes. You and
Yes,
I maybe talked
please.
about this a little bit, but you know, I thought it was really important for us to get an opportunity to showcase what we were trying to do. So like 2018, this was back in my like true I'm putting my TL hat on. You guys or Suika probably knows, but like I was organizing team exhibitions,
Yeah.
like regional exhibitions, team things. Like I took the legwork for that. And I don't want to like talk about this like I'm claiming to be a mover and shaker in the community or whatever. But like creating those sorts of connections, showing tournament organizers that we love to do this and we're interested in doing that, puts that seed in your mind if they want to showcase the community. And so, the All In Together series was a extension of that. They wanted to show worldwide during the pandemic and even out of the pandemic to some extent what the scenes that were playing the games were like. And so, we got to show off versus Seth, and we got to show as I lovingly like to call it for clear, the matchup that's on the box. We saw Red Blade versus Fox of. We saw many players being able to flaunt their stuff and show why we love the game. And
Yeah.
I'm always appreciative of that.
And I feel like before we wrap clear and talking about how we responded, we can't forget. We mentioned them earlier, but we can't forget about Mocha and
Yep.
Rank Night,
Mhm.
Yep.
because they're nearing the end of the pandemic era, the lockdowns, such. We were experiencing a lull. A lot of these net play TOs started experiencing burnout because being a
Every
TO
week.
being a TO is tiring, and not getting to do it with a team live in person, so that like you're isolated in your house running it. Of course, it's gonna take a toll on you faster than normal. So they started feeling that burnout. But we were able to persevere because of Mocha adapting an idea from, I believe it was the Grand Blue community. They
Hmm.
adapted that idea for us for rank night, and lo and behold, like people still show up rank night to rank night to keep this game going.
In
And
addition to that, too, Mocha, and I think some of the East Canada people, they started doing team tournaments too. So
Yeah.
like I was a part of a couple, 2v2s, Waseda style, Pokemon style larger team events, like things that really freshen up the experience from just running from one net play tournament, net play double elimination to the next, like breather events, I think I could call them.
Yeah. I feel really sad that it never actually like played an East Coast event. I had dabbled the idea of parsecing onto someone's PC and then playing from there. Because to me, that probably just be like 5 frame delay TBH. I could deal with that.
Yeah.
That would have
I'm
been so
glad that you
funny.
didn't do that when we were playing.
Dude.
Although, sometimes I hop into your stream and we'll play our high ping,
Hell
you
yeah,
know.
dude.
Hopefully
It,
Uni 2 will give us some slightly better connections.
that's all I can wish for. But if not, we've been through this song and dance for 9 years now, almost.
Yeah, 3 different versions
3
basically.
different versions
Mhm.
of variable 4 to 6 frame delay.
We've gotten a couple threes in there, playing Batista versus Akatsuki
A
for
couple of times,
three
yeah, a couple
different
of times.
versions.
But rollback, we can do it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Speaking of rollback, I guess this is a good time to transition in Uni 2. So, yeah. I can't remember. Were either of you at Evo last year?
I was not, and
Unfortunately, me neither.
when I saw the silent pictures on Twitter, I was like, that fucker. God damn it, that could be me.
So yeah, Friday morning at Evo 2023, the shocking announcement of Uni 2 happened on like the live stream while everyone else was playing pools tournaments. They had like a little thing where Evo hosted a bunch of little discussions with the developers, and at the time it was Type Lumina getting a lot of the spotlight, but during their talks with French Bread, they dropped the sick trailer of Uni 2 Sysilis. The
Oh
messed
yeah.
up part, the messed up part is since I was there working, like I saw on Thursday what everybody, like all the industry people and everybody at the arena was setting up. Like I saw at the access booth, they were completely kitted out with like with Strive stuff, right? So there was like every promotional image was Strive, every setup at their booth was all Strive. Literally on that Friday morning, when after like I think it was like a 9 or 10 a.m. like announcement, they scraped all that off the floor and half of their booth suddenly became Uni 2 like promotional art. And I was like, how did you guys manage that? And they had like 12 setups for Uni 2 like beta on the floor. And I was like, that was quick. That was ridiculously quick how they set all that up.
Mhm.
Dude, the info with those 12 setups, like that people were bringing over onto the Twitterverse was insane.
Yeah,
Cause,
dude.
'cause it was like, yeah, it was like there were gamers that wanted to play, sure. But people in the Uni community are just such insane lab heads sometimes.
Oh yeah, there was a
Yeah,
gold rush. Everybody
It
was
was
trying to find out
every-
everything.
dude. Everyone had a system where it was like explicitly like the first 2 rounds. You were like you would trade wins with your opponent just because y'all are trying to like lab some stuff, and then the third round was like, okay, y'all have to go hard and play something.
yeah, and that was lit.
Nah,
That was
nah,
insane.
it was coordinated. We had the Google Doc up and running. Like, no, if there's one thing that you can put your bottom dollar on, if it comes to an organized effort to get information out, the union community's on top of that.
They were insane, dude.
Yeah,
Shout outs to Twang. Twang had the doc up. You
Dude,
know,
Twang's been doing
everybody in the
hella.
everybody in the character channel was like, test this, test that. Did this work? Did this like it was relatively comprehensive, the change list that we got, even if we didn't know the frame data or a bunch of other information, like we scoured quite a bit. It,
Yeah.
it was actually this is a little mean spirited, but I talk to a lot of Japanese players on SNS, so Twitter and things of that nature. It was a bit of a comeuppance of sorts where they now have to come talk to us and ask us questions if they want to find out about the new game, because
the
for
tables
so
have turned.
long, yeah, the tables have turned. Instead of us watching you play clear for 3 years, you have to watch Americans and people who go to Evo to find out what your character did. You had to come and ask us It's like, oh, what does Mika do? What does blah 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 do? Like, what's this move? What's that move? I would see a couple SNS posts that are like, this is unfair. Why do the Americans get to do this? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, boy, if only you knew how that felt, 10 years ago.
All
Yeah,
the all the players I follow, and they're just like, oh wow, you need to use that Evo. Should have went.
yeah, should have went. I felt that too. I was like, man,
I
dang,
was
I should
I
have went.
was I was the same way. Where I'm like, if only I had like the money, because this that was the year we um last year is we both went to JP. Like our wallets probably are not in good spots.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm saving for that now. Like I got my flight. I gotta put a couple other things
I'm skipping
together.
JP this year to make sure I maximize my time in America for stuff. And
Mhm.
then once like, because it's gonna take more than a year for things to really settle down for Under Night 2. I honestly
Yeah.
in like
If it's anything like Melty, we'll probably see some update. Probably about 6 to 8 months in.
yeah.
This is
eh,
without potential updates because we know we have 3 characters on the way.
Yeah, we have a
Uh,
season pass for the first time ever.
yep, and Under
And
Night.
yeah, so like come next year, hopefully
You mean this
I
year?
well no, like the year after this year, because
Okay.
I have my flight to Slashback book. I have a flight to Evo booked. I don't even care if Evo doesn't run under night. Evo, can you run under night, please?
I
But
think
Like,
we're gonna
we're due
have.
for an update soon.
yeah,
Uh,
we're due for the update. But like I have those two locked in. Of course, like Climax is gonna be locked in. That's 3 tournaments down already. And I might have enough funds in time for like one more. But I don't know if I'll have like the actual money to make a Japan trip. So come 2025, that'll be when I make my return to Japan to see, what's up over here again.
yeah. I don't know if I will do. Actually, I'm pretty sure I won't do Japan in 2025. I don't know how many events that I'm going to do in 2025, if I'm being honest. But
Yeah.
for this year, I have like a small bit of funds put aside just in case Evo gets announced for Uni 2. I feel like I might have to go if that's the case. But for me, Combo Breaker, which is my birthday weekend, generally speaking, every year,
Oh yeah.
CB, Climax, and I think C Otaku, which is in December this year, I think formally announced by Jabali. Uh, those are the ones I'm targeting for now, with maybe some small regionals here and there within the Midwest. But uh, I'm honestly just looking forward to playing with so many different people. The beta test was like another kind of like gold rush where everybody was playing everybody. You hopped into casual match and you went to see who you could get some games with.
Dude, I
I
You
couldn't
got
even
to
like
yeah, you got to play like two new characters. Like that wasn't even in the Evo build. So like
yeah,
Kage and Sarugi were new.
yeah, I
yep.
did. I was like, I want to play these people more, but I need to cycle more players, more stuff. I need to like see how much interest like people have in this beta right now. And
Mhm.
like there were so many games, so many sets that I like burned through. I probably had like 1,000 games logged on stream, off stream, like combined. But by the end of it, just like, man, there are
I
a lot
had
of
a
people. I
I had
didn't
a
do
lot of games for sure, and actually, it's funny. I don't often talk about content content, but I got so many views of like the videos that I put out. Like I know you and I playing is one of them. Me versus Red Blade is another. Kind of the cycle you talked about. Like my thing was like we'll play a first to three, and I got to move to the next person because there's only so many people you can play at one time. People are trying to find Foxa, people are trying to find you, people are trying to find Red Blade, BB. So you really like had to make yourself available if you wanted to play a bunch of people.
yeah.
It was interesting. And I think Uni 2's release might not actually be like that because everybody's going to be at fucking Frosty Faustings.
Yeah. So
So
while you guys are raking in the Frosty Fastings bucks, I'll be raking in as many views before then.
Yeah,
oh,
get
that's
that
me.
content.
You're
I
gonna
will I will be corroborating content as I have been in the last couple months, assuming that I don't have a family obligation, which I might over the course of that weekend. But if not, I'll use this opportunity for a little bit to chill. Come watch me on twitch.tv/Juushichi. I will be watching Frosty Faustings, so come through and chill with me.
I
But
will. Yeah, I'm gonna make full use of the 3-day early access
oh
and
yeah,
get those Twitch views. Gotta get the Suika stream back in full and running
I think
because
actually it
it's time.
unlocks. I think it unlocks on like the 21st.
Something early,
It's like
yeah,
in
because it's
the
like JP time,
afternoon of
right?
yeah, the afternoon of the 21st for East Coast time. Probably closer to the morning for you guys. It's like 5. It'll be like
Yeah.
2 o'clock, I think, PST, 5 o'clock EST. So Sunday night, I will be playing a lot of Uni 2 on PS, assuming it unlocks. You know, that Monday I might. Sorry, boss, I'm not feeling too well.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we might have to make
I'm,
some
uh,
plays.
I'm definitely gonna be like on Teams, but not on not on work.
Yeah, I would never do that personally. You know, I would never play games on the clock. Uh, I will
That's true. That's true.
I'll just have a cold that I've been working on for the last
If
couple days. So
LGPC already knows my knows what occurs. You know, whenever you see the GG's ranked in a Suika post,
you already know what's up.
you already
But
know
yeah,
what just occurred.
All
Uni
right.
2, like there's so many features that I'm looking forward to. I'm actually interested because we've seen it mentioned multiple times. You have up to 9 slots in a player lobby now. They haven't really ever talked about what player lobbies are going to look like, except that they did show the screenshot. So it's not like you can't play concurrent matches. It's still kind of the same sort of lobby that we have
Yeah,
now.
King of the Hill style lobby. Yeah.
But I wonder if that ninth place is just like a broadcaster role. Like even Lumina doesn't have that. Lumina only has 8
8.
slots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope so, especially since like you can having a 9 slot means that like that full 8-man rotation just feels so normal now.
I mean, it
Yeah.
also works out for tournaments, man. You just got to have that extra slot for a broadcaster, and then like have your entire pool right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
true. Yeah, you can do that.
So I would love to see that. Like I'm very interested in that. Um I was actually really interested in casual mode. Like, you know, you have the ranked mode and you're going to have your grading scores and your rip ranking, but like them adding in a whole nother matchmaking area where you don't have to play ranked if you just want to play random people, I think is like great. I was like blown away when I saw that.
Yeah,
Um,
and it makes sense to say there are a lot of people who will look at ranked and subconsciously like it'll block them off because there's a world where when you enter anything competitive, you yourself have to be competitive, and it kind of whether consciously or not, like it stops people from playing online because I don't like if you look at me I and watch me play ranked, I don't go to ranked for ranked, right? I go to ranked just because I want games, but that's the
same.
only place you can get games currently.
Yep.
So casual mode is definitely huge, right? Not that I'm gonna go into casual mode, I still got to shark around ranked, you know.
I mean,
I
I'm going to do a healthy bit of both. I've been playing Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, the free version. Um, you know, playing Gran and trying out some other new characters. But like having the choice to just hop into a casual matchmaking, like I really like that. Same thing with like Street Fighter 6. Like I liked going into the battle hub and like
Mhm.
just sitting down at a cab with somebody else. Like I might have to make arrangements to play with friends, but if I just want to come home from work or, you know, take a lunch break and play crack out a couple games, I can hop on to casual, play a couple games, and then hop off. I really like that. You
Yeah,
know,
and I think a huge thing is it'd be no surprise to say that uni would never get like a gaming like a hub mode or like the big player lobbies with avatars that Granblue will have, right? French Bread just doesn't have that kind of
yeah, it
time.
doesn't really do that.
But casual mode will give us that anyways. And
Yeah.
that's gonna be super huge.
I I will say that I'm a little sad because I really liked BB Tag's
Yeah, yeah,
kind
I
of
think it's
world
cute.
lobby. I wish that we did also have that. That was like really fun. Um,
Dude, that
Especially
was
since they made that I think first to two. Like
y-
if BB Tag would have allowed that to be first to three, like that would
yeah,
have been just perfect. Like I really like that lobby system when it worked on PC. But yeah, I hope that we could do that. Or like Plus R. Plus R has that big casual matchmaking thing, and you just go in and you select someone. I wonder if they added that because of Plus R.
maybe. Because Plus
Because
R has a
we
lot of there's a lot of things that Uni 2 is doing that Plus R had implemented on its rollback release.
exactly. I mean,
Like replay
honestly, like
takeover, all that good
replay
stuff.
takeoff. I don't have to know how to do Carmine and Yuzu strings to practice against it. I can just play and get my ass whooped, save the replay, and then just start going in the lab. Like, oh my god. I don't have to learn how to play Hilda. I don't have to learn how to play Batista. I could just have someone play me for a while and
Just
snip out some of
take
the
the
things.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Take control. Like, oh my god.
Yo, Tari, I'm gonna need you to like hit me up one day so I could record some replays of you because I to this day I'll never learn how to fight Yuzu, bro.
Mhm.
Same. I just jump and shield and pray.
Yeah.
I
Wind
know a
grid.
couple things, but it's still hard for Akatsuki.
Yeah, I think Uni 2, there's a lot going on. And it's insane. Like, I don't think I've ever seen French bread announced in this sort of way. You
Uh,
know? Like
Lumina, I think, right?
Lumina, yeah, Lumina maybe, and they might be taking from the Lumina their Lumina days and experience in this case. Cause like
Yeah.
the step-by-step information process just continues to generate excitement for
Yeah.
me. And
Mhm.
like
Even just having like them drop like Raito's like background music for each character once a day. That alone is like good content. We
yeah,
went this entire like episode not talking about the music at all, but like Raito's killing it on all of these tracks that he's doing it.
Absolutely.
Dude,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I don't know if you knew this, but it's like freaking hearing Kuon's like theme have like all the cadence
OG.
having the
Yeah.
cadence of the original trailer like music. I was like,
That was
I
such a huge
that was
callback.
ridiculous. Like I've been waiting on an official release of that original trailer background music for literally 10 years, and they finally gave it. And even a more fleshed out version. I'm like, yo,
You know
Dude,
what
Raito,
the
you're the
funniest
man.
when
thing about that is? We asked about that in the interview with French Bread.
oh
We
yeah.
asked them if they could release that, and they lost it. They didn't have it. So they recreated that for Kuon. Like,
So
oh my god,
the
man.
music is insane in like what it references or what it tries. Like I remember when I first was critiquing Nanase's theme because I thought Nanase's theme had so much potential outside of instrumentation.
I mean,
I I thought it could have
like
been like an idol pop song. I thought it could have been like an anime intro style song. I
nah,
thought
dude.
if you just
In
replaced
NorCal, we called it a Kirby sound, like a Kirby
yeah,
soundtrack.
the Kirby
Yeah.
soundtrack, yeah. I like if you replace the main melodic line with literally any other sound font, dude, the song was a banger. And
It
what
sounded
did he
really
do?
good.
He
Add bass.
he he really just like swapped the main melodic line and like and you didn't really touch up much of the main melody and main verses. And it was a banger. It's a
Yeah,
Yeah.
banger.
I like it. It's different though. Like,
It is. It
you know,
doesn't feel
once you Stockholm yourself, I think a little bit into
Oh,
that's
dude,
how I feel about Park too. I love
yeah.
Park.
remember in
Part
Unil where
part.
you couldn't change like you couldn't change the background music at all. So
Mhm.
like as a day one non-state player, I had to listen to that theme for literally
Over
3
and
years in
over.
training mode.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. That's right. I forgot about that. Um
Actually, one of the things to change gears just a little bit, you know, talking about things to look forward to in Uni 2, I had a conversation kind of along the same lines with Fox of uh you know how Kamine collected all of those combos from the community and put that on like the website that he did?
yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope that the trials got updated, the mission mode. If the mission mode references some of the community combos from Clear and ST,
Are you
I'm gonna
saying we're
lose
gonna?
my mind.
Are you saying that under Akatsuki Advance you'll see the squish
This
bathwater juggle?
no, you're gonna see the Jew Bible, the Juushichi Bible.
Yeah,
Dude,
He did heavily reference my combo Bible with that. And even like I think 2 new combos were added in Clear's mission mode per character roughly. Um one of them like was a relaunch based on the kind of relaunches that we were doing in ST.
Yeah,
So, if I see something like the advanced fireball, confirm in the corner, then I'll know like, oh, or even crazier, because I had Kamine do my combo trials. I don't know if you guys knew that I have combo trials that I created for Akatsuki. They're like really, really difficult combos that basically teach you advanced routing for the character. There's like some new thing that you can learn or some like high level concept that you can do by doing those trials. He completed my first trial run, and he started on the second trial run that Killamine and I collaborated to make more difficult. Um, but he gave up. But no, like you can actually go to Kamine stream if he's like streaming a game. You could teach him a combo and get him to try to do it, and he will
dude.
hit it.
Oh, remember when he did his first dash drill?
Yep,
That
his
shit was
eyes lit
so
up.
funny. He's like, "Oh no, is this what they've been doing?"
Oh yeah, we taught him how to dash drill. I taught him how to relaunch. We taught him a lot of stuff. I think Axel taught him like one of the really convoluted Eltnum like enhanced bullet combos. Like
Yeah,
people don't know, or maybe they don't appreciate it because Kamine was a top level player way back in the day
Melty. Yeah.
for Melty, and like he still plays at a pretty high level. Like I got to play him
oh,
for
Comedy
a
beat
little
my
bit.
ass,
Yeah, his Enkidu, like he plays every
dude.
character in the game.
y-
His
y-
Enkidu is really strong. Like he, you can teach him how to do hard combos and he'll do it. It's cool.
remember when we went to KSB,
Yep.
right? I actually played pretty well that tournament. I was feeling on top of the wall. I had like double perfected like players and like was destroying people in arcade. And I went to fight Kamine and I saw this Enkidu guy. I'm like, oh dude, Enkidu is so bad in this game. Like all the NA Enkidu players are so whack at this point. And I fight
Mhm.
Kamine and I get fucking dumpstered like 3-0.
Yeah. No,
What happened? This is the dude that made the game. Developers are never good at their own games.
that's what they want you to think. But no, Kamine is nice with it.
Kamine
I
is
think
hella
I
nice with it, dude.
I taught him like a Kohaku combo too, like one of the more difficult ones. Nah,
TL,
he's
right?
sick with it. Yeah, TL.
He's good with it, man.
Yeah.
I
But
visited his stream the other day and he said, "Oh, hello, Suika. Suika is a very high level Batista player." And I sat there like, he remembers me.
yeah, getting acknowledged by the creator of, or excuse me, the developer of the game, that feels good, man.
That was a good time.
Mhm.
Yeah, like shouts to what all the things they're doing. What are some expectations for Unity you have in the script here, bro? Everything. I'm expecting so much, and I'm so excited.
I I think because I mentioned mission mode, I'm interested to find out more story wise. Like I hope there's an equivalent to the Chronicle mode, or maybe like the you
Like
know how like in
updated.
Lumina, if you played Lumina's 1P mode, each character had a character story that like tied in some information into their arcade mode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it unlocked like a secondary one or a more difficult one.
Yeah.
Uh, I want that for Uni. I hope that that's going to be the case. I want a new Chronicle mode. Like I'm actually really really looking forward to a lot of the one player stuff. Like I want to see this story that they're now talking about is the end of Undernight. What they cooked up with 10 years time.
Dude, I want like Eltnum to like open up some sort of like portal where you see like Shiki or someone in the background be like, "Welcome back."
What if
Bro.
like what if you had to like fight Shiki at the end of Eltnum's
Oh,
And
mission
it's
that'd
not
be
mode?
it's not
What
even
if something
like
like
an
that?
it's not even like an EL or an Undernight conversion of Shiki. It's actually just TL Shiki.
Yeah, it's just TL Shiki. And it's not just TL Shiki, it's the Nania Shiki that you had to fight
fight
at
in
the end
boss
of
mode.
boss mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if it was like that? That would be so sick.
and it'll just like root our knowledge in the fact that all French Bread games are on the same engine.
Community. Yeah. That would be sick. That would be crazy.
That would be super godlike.
Bro, that if we see a sprite of any of these Melty Blood characters show up in game, we're like, this gotta be in a season pass, bro.
I'm gonna say right now, anyone that says I don't like guest characters in my game, you guys can fuck off, man. Give me guest characters. There are so many cool ideas. There's so many cool characters that you could just pull out of fucking nowhere, and I'd be so fucking happy.
I had a paragraph of all these like I had a paragraph of all these like funny April Fool's jokes, but the one that really stuck out is like, yo, Skullgirls?
Yeah. Honestly, the only guest character I want to see is Philia.
Is Philia? Yeah.
I want to see Philia. If Philia gets in the game, I'm gonna play her. Aside from that, you know, everybody's looking for Strix and what's that? Uzaki,
the hat girl,
Uzuki, or Joker or something. You know, give us one of those. Actually, give us Adahite, the leader of the Light Christ.
Yeah.
Let's get that.
Let's get Adelheid. Let's get Philia. Let's get one more story character, and then like surprise fourth DLC. Let's import an Perfecti from BlitzConf.
That would be hilarious. It's like, yeah, the surprise fourth character is actually Blitztank.
Yeah, everyone needs a Blitztank in their game.
Actually, no. You know who it has to be?
Is it? Oh,
because she's been in like a million games now. It has to be I Know Heart.
Oh yeah,
it's either that or Terry Bogard at this point. Like,
dude, oh my god, if you put Heart in that game and she doesn't get her shield button is just no, her force function would be homing. Oh fuck.
Oh, god. Yo, kill
that
zoning me out now, homie.
If she has like any sort of meter, she can homing cancels through your normals. Oh, she'd be so sick. She'd be so sick.
So I actually made a joke to Kamine. Like I talked to him in the stream, I think either this morning or yesterday morning, where I was like, you know, it would be cool, and there have been again, not to toot my own horn, there have been a couple additions to Lumina and Melty in Uni 2 that basically came from me asking Kamine if something would be cool if it was in the game. So like there was the national championship basically for Melty, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there was a special color for the winners of the tournaments? And so there was that gold color that came out. I think that was part of the reason. Anyway, putting that aside, the idea that I put in his head, hopefully, is players that play both Melty and Uni know that there's like CPU difficulty going from like 1 to 5.
Yeah.
By now, seasoned players can all beat the dog shit out of level 5 CPUs. I asked him, like, what if, like, give us like a super cheap CPU, even if it's like boss rush mode or something like that. Like, I want to fight like the most evil renditions, like gold characters. Like, let us fight Hilda with 400 meter. Let us fight Vitista that is, you know, has air unblockable gems.
No, you want to know? Okay, like
let's
real
fight
Joel's
EL
dad,
Gordo, like
real Joel's dad level of shenanigans. We need we need EL Gordo, but like with infinite sim range.
Not even that. Like, I think ASM, like, if you just made EL Gord, because like EL Gord, if you put him in Uniclear right now, he would get dog walked. I think. Like, the character power is actually so strong. Like, I think Clear Gord beats EL Gord.
100%.
But if you combined all of the really broken parts, like you gave him a sim back, maybe some scaling, like, and you just make
give it sweep, like give it slide loops.
Give him the slide loops, give him all of that other stuff on top of the Uni 2 Gord package, and you just make him a busted boss character that you could fight. That would be so fun. I would love to do that.
Also, you gotta add the April Fools like
colored coat,
colored coat, yeah.
So you do that, right? You give him ASM back. You give him like a slightly higher damage values, better, like you give him slide loops, and you give him always have access to Vorpal FF.
Yeah, Vorpal FF. They
Dude, that'd
extended
be
force
so
function,
busted. Yeah.
and he reads your inputs. Like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, that would be it would be super frustrating, but like you could do content, you have
Dude,
Justin Wong
Justin Wong
Pogface,
Bush Rush, dude.
the most it's like, oh my god, the most difficult. You have like the Ed Netty noise he uses or whatever,
Dude, oh,
of
but
him getting assimilated through his 5C or something,
like Batista would be Batista's. You remember Batista in the training mode, in the mission mode, where
yeah,
she just shoots lasers at you.
no
Yeah.
charge. She
No
has no
charge,
charge time
Batista. Yeah, no charge
with
time,
air unblockable
Batista
gems.
with unblockable gems,
You just
brother.
add first hit Vorpal phone on,
Yeah,
arcade phone on,
Yeah.
where
or
she hits you for 6K,
Hide all that chip. It should be like a bajillion chip.
a billion
you
chip.
could,
It's
dude,
two chain
hide,
shifts. You get infinited.
Two
and you
chain
can,
chip.
and if you're fighting Hyde in specific boss mode, he can kill you with chip.
Yeah, he can
Yeah.
chip you out. Yeah, you have to shield to remove chip. Like,
Dude, that'd
I,
be so sick.
these ideas write themselves, right? Wouldn't that be so fucking cool?
That'd be so sick.
But yeah, so if something like that happens in Uni 2, man, I don't have any expectation of it, but it would be so cool.
Hey, Kamane, I have one more idea if you're listening in. You should make an announcer pack for me.
Ooh, announcer packs.
Oh,
That's
that would be sick.
Get like top commentators to do announcer packs. I guarantee you, like if you can like get them a record, like pay for the recording booth for like the 1 hour you need them to yell like under night in birth character names and like and like down and stuff like that, right? That
Yeah.
won't cost you that much, and like every commentator would do it for free.
Actually, as a short aside, I'm like super hyped that we actually get to hear Eltnum and Akatsuki round calls.
Oh
I think
yeah,
because
Yeah, that was
they
cool.
re-recorded them, you actually get to hear them.
Yeah, I mean those two also have like, some sick interactions. Like Elton, fourth wall breaking, be like, "Yo, it's our time's wrapping up." Kind of like this podcast, honestly.
that's
Oh, that's a
true.
smooth transition.
So yeah,
Real
I'm
smooth.
super glad I got both of y'all on the call today. A lot of insider information about all you guys' time with the game, and a lot of really tear jerking moments for me because I'm like, damn, we've been here for so long. Not just the podcast, but like playing the game. So so yeah, is there any like I'm gonna leave the floor to you guys if you want to wrap it up. If you want to plug anything, I'll let you guys do the thing.
Suika, you go ahead and go first, my man.
Sure. You guys can find me at Van Suika _ That's VANSUIKA _ because Van Suika was taken. Don't know why. And follow me on Twitch, Drunk Suika Ibuki. And shout outs to my local scene who really gave me this opportunity to play a game that I ended up loving for way more than
More than
like
10
10
years.
years, more than 10 years, like they were right. They were right. 10 years and more. And of course, shouts to VSB for giving me that area. And the biggest shout out to the community, because without the community, I don't think we're here ever. Right? I don't think of myself as the owner of the Discord or like someone super important. I just think of myself as a piece of that community, a piece of you guys. So shouts to you guys who allowed me here and kept me here and gave me a place to just have fun.
Very well said. I'm gonna mirror a lot of the same sort of sentiments. Big shout outs to the community. I was able to touch on and shout out a couple people over the course of this episode. Um, I'd like to give a shout out to people that came and taught me in the Midwest Smash community. My mentor, the Keist, who without him I wouldn't be running tournaments and I wouldn't have the kind of spirit that I have to try to give back to the community. Um, Shout outs to French Bread for creating a game that I fell so deeply in love with. Um, Shout outs to you guys for having us on. Shout outs to the local community. I mean, you can find me at Ingi no Juushichi on Twitter for now. I don't know how long I'm going to keep my Twitter account, if I'm going to be completely honest. You should be able to find me on Blue Sky Social, just under Juushichi. It might be Ingi no Juushichi. Aside from that, I stream on twitch.tv/Juushichi. There will be more Undernight content on my YouTube channel. I'm working on another interview coming soon with a member that we actually talked about briefly on this episode, and maybe one more person. Uh, I just want to say again that I'm thankful for everybody that's given me support over the years of playing, and looking forward to playing more with everyone when the new game comes out. Thank you so much.
All right, cool. And that wraps up this episode of the TO Desk. This is DJCream. You could follow the team on Twitter, on YouTube. Most of the social media is at 956 Productions. And yeah, with that, thank you so much. And yeah, let's call it a day, guys.
Have a good one. Peace out, guys.
Thanks for
All
having
right,
us.
cool. Thanks.